Okay, so I am not hearing an echo.
Also, that thing that you briefly flashed on screen, I'll let you know I am a pretty quick reader and I couldn't read anything.
Brilliant. Okay, uh, I'm not hearing an
All right, no
echo
echo.
anymore. Oh, brilliant. Okay, welcome one and all to what? Whose ad hoc tournament is it anyway? As you can tell from my introduction, the stream time, and the fact that you heard him, I am joined in the commentary booth by Zorflax. So, how are you doing today?
Howdy, howdy, everyone. I'm doing pretty good. Woke up a couple of hours ago. This is actually like my normal stream time anyway, so I'm keen. I'm keen to just sit here. I wish I had a submission, but I'm happy to provide my commentary services. More than happy, actually.
Excellent. So, the puzzle we are looking at today is Tinsel. It's this polymer being made with a little help from broken up Christmas ornament shards and elemental quicksilver. The key here is that the product has triplex bonded metals, which of course you can never create, so you must get them from the input. And the metric of this week's puzzle was the primary's period, so the length of the instruction tape. Yes, Kelly resist. And and the secondary was cycles, and as we all know, the tertiary doesn't matter. Okay, so as might have been guessed, the immediate inspiration for this puzzle was the thermal fuse HPC that we saw almost a year ago in the 2024 tournament, which you designed, right?
Yeah, yeah, that was a puzzle that I threw out my playtesters, not intending it to be a tournament puzzle, and then like, oh, that's a great idea. It was actually Panic's idea, the metric itself, which I think was the point of this puzzle. So that was a Panic idea, that period thing with height. But here we've just gone away with the height part and gone full period for a very
It was a
for a pointed reason, I believe.
it was a fascinating puzzle, but it was also uh, challenging to many people. And in a certain respect, one can view this as revenge on Zorflax. So after the trials and tribulations we went through before, I do think so. Period was first seen in 2023, as I recall, where it appeared in a production puzzle.
Yeah, that
Uh,
was also Panic.
that time, the period was the primary, but of course you're constrained in area because it's production. Then with thermal fuse, period was the secondary. So I think this is the first time we've had a competition centered around period as a primary, and it's just free space period, which we all know
I
is
believe so. Yeah.
essentially the same thing as free space I, right? Um, so would you like to share your spoiler-free thoughts on what you thought of this puzzle when you first saw it?
Um, I thought great idea and immediately saw the parallels with thermal fuse. It was actually that made me feel very proud that this kind of like was kind of like spawned from that kind of brainchild. Um, Thinking about putting this in non-spoiler terms. Well, there is nice that there's only because there's only one metric, so we don't have to like it gives us normally tournament context there's more than one metric to worry about and you have to design a puzzle around multiple metrics, but the fact that we've actually only gone with the one metric gets the puzzle like you can just think about that one metric that whole time, focus the puzzle design really in to one catered experience. And like, yeah, as much I wish got to spend more time with the puzzle. It was the wrong week for me, but I'm pretty sure I know what we're going to be seeing around the top, and I'm excited to see that.
Now, this I will slightly contradict what you just told me if I can take the liberty of reading from your DMs, um, which is before the puzzle came out. You sent me a message. You said, "This will be my first chance to compete in anything in almost 2 years." And then after you
Yeah.
saw the puzzle, you sent me another message, and that message says, and I quote, "God fucking damn it," end quote.
Oh, that's because I had that god fucking damn it thought, because I immediately clocked into what I think was the point of this puzzle, which was spoilery, so I won't outline
Right,
it,
right, right. Okay.
but I do know there will be a lot of jank coming up.
Excellent, excellent.
I'm excited for the jank. I'm keen because we kind of got to see this kind of jank in Thermal Fuse, but this will be a slightly different flavor of jank,
Yeah.
for all the right reasons.
Well, let's dive in. We're going to start with Night Shine in 27th place. Um, let's see if I can.
27th place.
Yeah.
Shit.
With,
That's like better than most weeklies.
so this is period 13 at 92 cycles. Let's see if I can. Okay, there we go.
So I saw Kelly Reese has made the joke about there not being Quicksilver in this puzzle, and the Quicksilver's already getting ignored.
Yeah, yeah. So what I do like that Nightshine went for Purification. I think Projection was more popular than Purification throughout the submissions, but I liked the Projection. So I'm glad some people went for it. And I think a few people found very clean ways to get their coppers to Projection. So yeah, this is a pretty straightforward solution, a simple product.
I do see a period override command. Wasn't expecting to see any of those this week.
You know, I did not notice that before. Shall we find out what happens if it's missing?
Yeah. If you set up allows for tinkering, we can just find out.
The answer is it doesn't work. Okay, so I think it was there for good reason. And Nightshine writes, better than bad, but not good. So yeah, Nightshine made 2 submissions. Their first submission was a higher period than this. So they did manage to improve on it and get this in. So let's move on to the next solve. And I hope the audio is okay. I'm having much trouble with my setup. Here we go. And here we have, I believe this is Moraconda with period 11 and 102 cycles. As you might guess from the title New Solution 1, this is a speed solve. This was the very first submission at 4 minutes. Which that's
This is the speed solve in question.
yeah. This is a 4-minute job, which I'm quite impressed by. I think this might be the only person to build a waste chain. Actually, it's that one step faster than plopping down a disposal. There's no notes, as one expects for a speed solve.
That takes time, precious time.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah.
I'd say it's more accurate to say speed solves are optimized for minimum brain power. So that's where this comes from with the jank waste chain and the let's just get these 2 triplex things on together and project. It's actually a quite simple puzzle when you kind of don't think about the period primary and just solve it.
Yeah, I liked that the puzzle was not hard to get done, which is not going to be true next week. So, you know.
Kelly Reeses asks
Yeah.
if Arm 6 is necessary.
So no, Arm 6 is on a track. Let's just have its own
If you just delete it.
fun little track over there.
Yeah.
I think oh,
Oh, it is for the. It is. Oh no, it's not. It's fully
I
not
was
necessary at
similarly
all.
caught off guard. Okay, well, for that, I guess it matters for the instruction tertiary, not that anyone tied at period 11 and 102 cycles. Okay, but that was not the submission, so let's put it back. And
Jabu is mentioning tinkering in the chat. Who here has had to set up their stream setup completely from scratch because they're on Linux and no one has streamed Opus Magnum from Linux before. So none of the usual like mod tinkering stuff applies. So they can just go nuts.
next up, we have not great with period 4. We are now down into proper low periods, and the race is
25th.
on. Yeah, 25th. I am happy
Holy
that we
shit.
had period 4. I am a little less happy that we had period 4 for instructions.
This was what you needed to crack top 25.
This was
Oh man,
definitely.
that's foreboding.
There are easier ways to get period 4 than to have only one arm. This is, yeah. So this is clearly
That's true.
I primary. Not great writes. Yes, I know that min p is 3, but I felt like doing this, so why not? Thought min p was 2 for a bit, but then I realized I was being stupid. So we have the first question of what is min? Is min period 3 or is min period 2? But we're in 25th place.
So it is
so
safe to say it goes. It's safe to say it goes below 4.
it does
That much
go
is
below
safe.
4.
The other thing is that this was more so an instruction solve than a period solve, because with the period primary, notably with the cycle secondary, you get as many arms as you want at that period. So I know Not Great probably like knew that and didn't bother, but
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. You would, I suppose, you have your choice between projection or purification with one arm. You can do it either way. Oh, we were so close to finishing that we've somehow yabbered on for 999 cycles that let's see it through to the end. But while we have this moment, I'd like to point out, it turns out this puzzle, I didn't realize it when I made it, it is historically accurate. It turns out Tinsel was originally made of shredded silver.
It was was it?
Yes.
Nice.
I didn't find out.
That is great attention to detail.
I didn't know until I'd already chosen silver and copper. But whatever. Okay, there's only so much of one arm we can see. So let's move on to 24th place, where we have Trixie Kagami Alchemy Company with Tinsel 2-Step, version 2.
Jamu, what other hosts could you possibly be referring to? I have a great stream pace. I'm not a slow streamer. What do you mean?
What I like about this solution is actually, let me zoom out. I'm having fun. I installed mods recently because I figured if I was going to stream, I needed to have a zoom function.
Very wise choice.
Yeah. And before my computer runs out of memory, let's start this over. What I like about this solve is it actually looks like a machine that makes a product. You know, and this is something that is not going to stay true for very long. We're pretty soon going to enter into the world of jank, and it is really nice to enjoy a machine that, you know, looks like a proper machine the way Opus Magnum was intended to be played.
This is nice. This gives you some like, this is nice period 4 stuff. Period 4 is a very nice period for just a single arm doing grab, rotate, drop, reset, or grab, track, move, drop, reset. So this is
Yeah.
actually a very nice period to be working with.
Okay, we have some solution notes. Trixie Kagami Alchemy Company writes, presenting Trixie Kagami Alchemy Company's latest holiday product, the Tinsel two-step alchemy engine. Originally sold exclusively to Mr. Claus himself back in the ornament crisis of Year Redacted. This product has finally hit the market with the big man's seal of approval. To celebrate the holiday season, each Tinsel two-step alchemy engine comes with a special, limited edition Trixie Kagami Alchemy Company ornament for you to hang on your tree. Buy your Tinsel two-step alchemy engine today. Trixie Kagami Alchemy Company is not responsible for any faulty shipping of the limited edition Trixie Kagami Alchemy Company ornament. Trixie Kagami Alchemy Company is not to be held liable for any incidents involving the use of shards of the limited edition Trixie Kagami Alchemy Company ornament as fuel for the Tinsel two-step alchemy engine. And my computer is clearly struggling.
I can see it huffing and puffing the length of that output.
Now we continue. I should point out, I think it became, I believe this submitter was actually optimizing for rate rather than period due to a miscommunication about the metric, as becomes, which will make the rest of the notes more clear. They write, "Hi again. Glad to be participating in this little mini competition. This puzzle was incredibly fun to solve. 4P tape loops are a specialty of mine. Lower P is definitely possible, but I like building machines with a simple rhythm to them. My solve is separated into two segments. The first separates the inputs into the shapes I need, and the second manages the assembly. Sometimes manipulation can get a little tight due to the nature of bricking, but a couple bigger sweeps can help space things out a bit. There's a few highlights of this solve I'd like to point out. Arms 6 and 25 pivot their atoms through a very tight space. Can we find? Here's 25, and I think 6 is down here.
Oh.
So yeah.
25 is the pivot arm.
Yeah. It's lovely to watch the atoms just brush past each other. Similarly, arm 24 swings a copper directly through arm 23's track hex. Yep.
It does.
Just as it moves out of the way. Amusingly, arm 23 was on a track purely for aesthetic purposes as they made the solve. I didn't realize till I was done how crucial that track turned out to be. I'm glad to be back on the puzzling scene. Good luck to all placing above me. P.S. The engine is called the Tinsel two-step because it grabs the input as well as the product every 2 cycles. Postscriptum. This is the updated version. G isn't a metric, but it was still getting to me that arm 15 was on a track when it could rotate in place, so I amended that. Postscriptum. Faster. Another submission. Eliminated bricking from the top half, shaving 12 cycles. 1 for each of the 12 days of Christmas. Definitely, this was definitely planned. Definitely for sure. Definitely for real. Oh god, no cap. Definitely. Signed, Trixie Kagami, the Cheshire Alchemist, making a valiant return. Oh, and now my computer's
nice.
There we go. Yeah, great submission. As I said, I really like having the well-functioning machine that actually continues and loops. So enjoy it while it lasts. Now we have Matrix.
Such a luxury that will be, yeah.
We've had a pretty steep drop in cycle count. We're now down to 31 cycles with Matrix, who informs us they are formerly Matrix_V. Let's zoom out a little so we can actually see the machine work. Do you like hex arms, Zorflax?
Mate, a hex arm enjoyer.
And actually, we've finally getting to the point where the solves actually run faster than I can talk about them. So let's put it down a little slower. Actually, is there really no intermediate speed between this and normal speed? Oh well. So my first thought when seeing this is, Don't they wish they could rotate the polymer output to another orientation? But I do think you save
As in
one.
rotate the output itself.
Yeah, I think by rotating the output, you save one cycle because you get off the bonder a little faster.
Usually rotate the rest of the machine and hope that helps. It's necessary since those arms can only grab once each, I guess, to avoid... the track load.
Sorry about the jumping around. So I think 7 is... so if I move 7 over here... Okay, we're not going to tinker, whatever. The temptation is too strong. Yes.
It is. It's a stream of temptation.
So yeah, Matrix with a really solid period 4 submission. This is the fastest period 4.
It is pretty fast, so I'm not actually that surprised because it's 31 cycles, but yeah.
Yeah. Is it? I will not reveal if this is the fastest submission overall, but this is the fastest period 4, which means...
I'm noticing most of the arms. Most of the arms are period 3, looking at the instruction tape.
So 10 has a reset instruction, which I know you love, as does 6 and 1. So where is 1? 1, where are you hiding? Is this 1? Okay. Interesting, that single arm here. So why does 6 have a reset instruction? Oh, it's translation. Yeah, is this close to being done in period 3? I don't know. Maybe you could also have collisions hiding in these no-ops. I don't know.
Yeah, it might be like closer than it looks. But yeah. You can see a lot of the work being done in period 3, which might make one wonder how the rest of the work gets done in period 3. Maybe not with this design, but like as we go down.
Yeah, I don't know, because a lot of these are hex arms rotating, which is an effective way to work at a period 4 cadence, but with only 3 instructions.
So one thing you get in period 4 that you don't get in period 3 are re-grabs. And that's big and important for being able to move stuff around properly.
Yeah, I think I'm... Yeah.
You can have... Actually, no, I take that back. You can re-grab as long as it's like... I think it's like more than one... You can't re-grab singular atoms, but like a molecule... You can do re-grabs, but it becomes harder because it needs to be like a full molecule.
Yeah, I think that the real...
No, wait.
Jank
Am I just wrong?
That comes when you go below period 4 is that transferring from one arm to another is just... I'll call it special. It's it's rough. But let's find out. Next up we have in 22nd place, Nathan F. Period 3 with 177 cycles. Crashing Rings. Oh,
I'll
zoom out.
I want to bring your attention. Apparently the Twitch chat box is like clipping it such that like half a line is clipped a bit. Is that able to be tinkered, or should we look at that off stream?
That is just going to have to live with that. I did not want to troubleshoot that. I'm happy the echo mysteriously went away. I have no idea where it came from or where it went.
I fully get you. I'm usually being like pushed to troubleshoot this kind of shit, and I usually don't like thinking about it on stream. So we'll just live with it for a stream.
Programming this must have been interesting. I see only 2 different possible instructions. Mostly plus, which I know is your favorite.
It's not entirely plus, actually.
Not entirely plus. We have some minuses. Is that just... Okay, sorry. I should actually look down at the proper solve.
Do you have the map function where you press M and it has a map of the solve?
There you go. Of course, now we can't actually see anything. I'm gonna have to start over. Yeah, I like the use of Quicksilver here to not just make the silver, but to get the copper over to where it gets to be made. So we have the monomers are, sorry, I guess I should say the inputs are being paired up. And if we pause, so each of these blocks is, one monomer to be. It does have an excess copper, which we have ARM28 coming in here to peel away. So it's a very clearly designed solve, separated into a bunch of physically separated stations. Each station has one task. First, we put them together. Actually, I'm a little unclear why there's an unbonder here. But okay, here we clip off the extra copper. Here we make the correct shape.
Yeah, it's for molecule shape.
Yeah.
Shenanigans to bunch up all the atoms together so you can re-bond bonds that you actually need.
Now we fix the bonds, and once we finish carrying, we dump the mercury onto the next one. Actually, so does that mean, yes, the very first mercury is wasted. Quicksilver, excuse me. So each quicksilver is actually for the previous monomer, is being used to project the previous monomer. And then, of course, we have what will soon be a familiar sight, very long tracks where the arms go to live.
Gotta have a gotta store that waste copper somehow.
Yeah.
Where they go to die.
So we'll see a few different strategies for how to lay out track. This one, this feels like a, just put it wherever strategy. Right.
So I think with period...
Go ahead.
Sorry, I think with period 3, you can immediately see the way the molecules have to be rearranged. It's what you call wanding, which is to have one atom grabbed by one of the arms, and not that atom, but everything that's bonded to it being like bonded and debonded indirectly without any arm grabbing it. So that's a skill one needs to get down to period 3.
Yeah, and the reason that it's necessary for this puzzle, of course, is because of the triplex bonders. So if you hold by the structure itself and then you unbond the atom you're holding with the rest of the structure, then you're breaking the triplex bonds you need to preserve. So rather than holding either of the triplex bonded atoms, you hold something bonded to both of them, so that when you unbond, you don't lose the triplex bonder you needed. Nathan F. writes, ho, ho, ho. North Pole tinsel also doubles as thermite in a pinch for all your last-minute Christmas gift spot welding. Ho, ho, ho. Shall we move on to 21st place?
I reckon it's a good time to move on.
Now, the next solver in 21st, we get actually quite a large cycles drop. I know it is early to be saying that, but it's true. We have
already
Reinen with 110 cycles. I don't know this name. Maybe they're a new submitter, or maybe they were here before me.
That's a new submitter.
Excellent. Welcome, Reinen. This is one heck of a way to start competitive Opus Magnum.
Welcome, you're just in time. We've got a tournament starting in a couple weeks.
Yeah, hopefully with more thoroughly play-tested puzzles. But you never know.
I mean, it is Haxton hosting the tournament. Famed for his playtesting. I reckon, I am going to be one of the playtesters for the tournament this year, and it's... I'm pretty confident in Haxton. I know he's not. He'd laugh nervously, but I reckon he's got nothing to worry about.
Yeah. Well, this puzzle went through quite a few iterations. I sort of wish there was a looping solve we could look at while we could talk, but no, I don't think we're seeing any more looping solves.
Yeah, it's a thing of the past,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
that's my fault. So I designed the puzzle over
Eh.
Thanksgiving break. I was talking with my family who do not play Opus Magnum, and I told them, "Oh, I'm doing this thing, and I have this idea for a puzzle." And so I was showing them layouts of, you know, what the product would look like. And I was asking them, "Does this look like Tinsel? Does that look like Tinsel?" Um, and I think it was they who chose to use silver and copper as the target metals. Uh, it, I think it was someone mentioned in the Discord um, that we should have used Tinsel, or sorry, tin for Tinsel,
Tin potential.
which I was originally thinking of doing tin for Tinsel, but I thought you don't actually make Tinsel out of tin, which raises the question
It
why?
is. Apparently, it's more historically accurate to use silver.
Yeah,
So yeah, you made the right choice.
yeah. I was originally I think I had gold and silver as one option once, but yeah. So I tried a bunch of different geometries. I think I steadily made the puzzle simpler. Um, and I kept simplifying. I was like, oh no, this is too complicated. Um, but the very last change I made was I added the silvers in the backbone. Earlier there were four atom monomers. It was one copper silver angled one way and one copper silver angled another way, and it was all bonded down the middle. So symmetric, sort of top bottom. Uh, and I thought, no, that's just too simple to make. Like there's not you don't do anything when you're making that puzzle unless you're like trying to hyper optimize. And I wanted the puzzle there to be some substance for people who are not hyper optimizing. So I added the silver, and I think I was pretty happy with that change.
Also, amusing part about this solve in particular, and it's been like crashing a lot, so we have to like constantly replay it. But I like the zigzag movement that it does, to fix like some wrong bonds and put in the right horizontal bonds to actually get the thing bonded together. Without any of the arms needing to worry about letting go. So you get this very amusing zigzag track as a result of that.
Yeah, yeah. We see. I definitely see quite a few zigzag tracks and solutions, but we should keep an eye on whether they are multiple arms moving in parallel or if it's just one arm going down a zigzag. Because there's definitely some one arm going
Mm.
down a zigzag. Next up, in 20th place, Foxy Haze. Now this is a solution. Let's zoom out so we can enjoy it properly. This is so what I like about the submissions we've seen is there are so many just that are completely unique, and I think period three or sorry period as a primary has a lot of just weird tricks you can do that you don't have a reason
Ah,
to
the
do
input
with other
suppression's
metrics.
nice.
Yeah, and that's cute. Oh, so we do see one final, I think, looping solve.
Well, it isn't crashing. I can say that much.
Uh,
um, Also, I think that thing at the bottom, that little arm going back and forth, isn't that called like a fishing pole? Because it's usually you usually see it in height solves.
oh yeah, we saw that in a bunch of the top thermal fuse HPC solves.
Yeah, I believe that's called a fishing pole.
Well, it is now.
Well,
I
I think
really
it was like a
yeah.
weekly height puzzle, like surprisingly stable substance, where I think like the winning solves used that. It's very clever tech. You don't actually see it very often, and it's funny seeing it here in the period metric.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like how every single monomer gets its own arm to carry it, which is necessary because there's a brief moment. And I'm going to start over again. Uh, there is a brief moment where they're all unbonded. Uh, So yeah, here every single monomer is unbonded, which makes it hard to move it as a group. So Foxy Hayes found the solution: just have an arm for every single monomer, and we get this beautiful parallel tracks construction going on.
Yeah, the parallel tracks look wicked.
Oh, it's fantastic looking. I like it. And then, but of course, this arm 5 takes a slightly different route. I think it's because that
But it
monomer.
resynchronizes.
Yeah.
It resynchronizes, even though it's taking a different route.
And now they're all holding it. I guess it's partly because it's holding a different atom. Well, okay, now they're. Wait. R8? No, okay, yeah, they must be holding it. Oh, and then they let go.
Instead of arm 5. Yeah, because arm 5 doesn't need, because it's very clever, because arm 5 doesn't drop ever. So it uses that final period, that final instruction to move twice instead. So it moves twice as fast, which is why it desyncs and resyncs. But it's also why it's able to get them out of the way, get the final product out of the way of the re-grabbing claws of the synchronized arms. Because it's actually moving twice, so...
I like how it dodges
really
all the
cool,
grabs.
actually.
There's so much cool stuff going on in the solve that unfortunately does not lead it to a lower cycles count.
5 is pretty wicked.
Yeah, I did not appreciate.
I don't think I'm not. Also, I'm not sure we're going to get many cool pivots. So that pivot arm is front runner for pivot of the week. Even.
Which one is? 3?
It's like the one pivot arm. Just because I don't think we're going to get many cool pivots this week. So.
And we are not going to see this motif with arm 11 pumping Quicksilver to the product very often. But we see it here, so that's cool. I like the solution a lot. I forget if I read the notes. Foxy Hayes says, cycles can probably be reduced even further, which is true. And let's go ahead and do that. So, next up, we have, is this our most prolific submitter this week? No, I don't think so. But one of our top submitters is Jamu Stitch. No, hang on. There we go. In 19th place, period 3 and 80 cycles. So a modest 5 cycles faster.
There's always like two schools of thought when it comes to submitting. There's either you submit once and just don't submit till you're completely done, or you submit 50 times. There's never much in between.
Yeah, I did not. I was less aware of the second camp until I started keeping a hawk eye on the submission page. I was like, oh, yep, another submission. Yep, another submission. You know, being
Panic's website powered through it.
Panic is a great website. You know, being a contest organizer has been an interesting experience. It really makes your DMs a lot livelier.
Oh yeah. You know what's funny? Because I was like, we were troubleshooting the stream and stuff yesterday, and I had to I completely forgot that I was not privy to the spoilers, because I'm so used to just being like, oh yeah, you can tell me, I'm the organizer. But like I had to actually not know, and that was cool, but I was just physically not used to it, because I'm now so used to being that community event organizer.
And then you didn't submit anyways.
Only to not fucking submit. Oh.
Now, I said we were not going to see this motif very often, but we see ARM 11 is doing a similar job to what we saw in the previous solve, with just pumping Quicksilver directly from the input into projection without any other interference. Here we see things bond pretty quickly up into the two inputs to make each monomer, with ARM 10 doing the big swings to get out the waste atoms just in time before the next one comes in. But
Oh yeah, that's like cycle pipe.
this this is fully assembled before the extraneous triplex bond is converted to regular bond. So this triplex bond survives a bit longer. Yeah.
Shadow Cluster in chat asks if there was any particular reason for 1 metric instead of 2.
Yes, because it was easier. Easier for me and easier for you. Easier for everyone. I wanted this to be just a casual, low effort. Just we're gonna hang out.
Let's just play some Opus Magnum
Over winter break and do some Opus Magnum. So I want to do only one metric. Then, among Jamu's many submissions, their notes have changed as well. The new leading submissions notes says, "I swear to God, if grabbing every 3 is possible, angry face." So yeah, how often is this grabbing? Once every 6? It's so arm 9 is doing the grabbing.
It's like
once a 9.
9. So which is like technically like 1 every 4.5.
Oh right, so arm 9 is grabbing once every 9 cycles, and these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are grabbing also 1 every 9 cycles.
Jamu in chat. Jamu in chat is all like, "Don't read the old ones, please," in like caps, in a very like self-conscious kind of way.
As in, I should not finish reading the solution notes, or I should not read the old solution notes. I was not going to read them out loud.
The old one. Don't read the old ones.
All right, I'll finish reading these solution notes. I think over half the people got min P, which I assume is 3. But if somehow 2P is possible, then I will chug a can of Sprite without burping. Got this solved pretty quickly. Most of the time were spent on cycle optimization and tater tots optimization. So,
I like that bet. Chug a can of Sprite without burping. That's like you could do it, but it's funny and might be a bit like it could be content.
Low stakes. I think between that and lemons, I don't know. I think I'd prefer the can of Sprite chugging. The title is Madmaster reference copy, which I think is referring to the fact that, of course, Madmaster did extremely well on HPC. And by extremely well, I mean crushed everyone. Next up, 18th place, we have Cuckoo 52 with New Solution 57. At 77 cycles.
Hey, that's impressive. It's usually New Solution 1 with Cuckoo 52.
Why? The title is New Solution 57. I don't know if there's 57 solves.
Maybe on his computer.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe not.
So I may have just been completely wrong about saying that this was a rare motif of Hexarm feeding Quicksilver directly into the product. And actually, and I was wrong in one other way, this is also a looping solve.
Looping solve. Nice. Actual looping solve.
This will definitely go forever. Let's just wait for a moment.
Yeah, so we're still, while we're here at period 3, and we're looking a bit more at the cycle secondary, so this is the same. We're still on that grabbing 1 every 4.5, or like grabbing 2 every 9.
That's a good question.
One question is that, like, how often can you grab that thing? Because that will kind of dictate the rate at which you can solve this thing. This purely beats the last solve on latency. I can't remember what Foxy Hayes' rate was, but yeah.
Well, it was 85 cycles, so probably the same rate. We could open it up, but it would be miss out on watching this looping solve never crash.
Trixie is talking about the theory of period 2. Not only does it involve never letting go of a single atom ever, which means projections out of the window, it also is only possible on polymer puzzles. You cannot solve a non-polymer puzzle in period 2 because polymer puzzles let you solve the puzzle without letting go. Normal puzzles don't let you do that. But yes, that is some of the theory behind period 2.
Yes, so I do think maybe required viewing before this puzzle is thermal fuse HVC, because a lot of this theory of what is low period in free space was discussed. And Madmaster had what I will denote, the Madmaster criteria, which is a list of conditions a puzzle must satisfy to be solvable in period 2.
This is good. Go on.
Well, I mean, you were there for this. You were you were commentating.
Oh, I don't have the list memorized. Oh, I thought you had the list itself on hand, but yeah.
So, hang on a moment. Whoops. We just gotta. I may have been wrong about this solve looping. We gotta just make it a little bit.
Oh, sad.
We're just gonna make it a little bit longer. Okay, it'll totally loop this time. Just wait.
Just a few more, and it'll loop. I swear.
Yeah, and one of the criteria, of course, was it must be polymer, because you can never do period 2 with a non-polymer. So it was a deliberate decision that I designed the puzzle knowing those criteria and thinking other people would compare the puzzle to the criteria, and specifically the polymer criterion. So I had to tantalize by making it a polymer. So we've seen Cuckoo 52 solve go all the way to infinity, which it must have, because this is a looping solve. Actually, I think we got our first gold atom of the stream, which is cool.
I did see a gold atom.
Next up is username void in 17th place.
Oh yeah,
with 61 cycles.
Real quick. Real quick, Cully Racist mentions you can just keep adding track until the solve crashes from overclocking, and that will count. Or you add track until IE personally stops you.
Right.
Sorry, continue.
Well, we are continuing, and we get purification again, which I'm excited about.
Whoa.
Yeah,
I like the try-on. That's a cool motif. That's a cool solve. Those try-ons starting everything off is quite nice. This is nice to look at.
Yeah, it's a really clean way of making the two triplex bonded dimers at different angles to each other. And then
this one doesn't. Sorry.
And then the coppers that get peeled off get fed directly into purification, and I don't know how this works, but the silver just sneaks into the middle. You were saying?
It's actually because that try-on debonds the copper silver stick from the individual copper atom right next to that bonder spot quite perfectly. So you can just kind of play around that. It's very geometrically satisfying. Other thing is that this solve actually this solve is grabbing the input every 3. So that's what this try-on motif allows for, actually grabbing it every period instead of 2 every 3 periods.
Yeah. So maybe we're going to be seeing grab every 3 from now on. You know, if I were a professional, I could tell you, but I don't remember. And then we have, I guess, fairly high latency compared to Cuckoo 52 and Jamu's solve. But, rate beats latency when you're making 6 monomers often. So I find
the latency,
Go ahead.
Sorry. I think the purification glyph is to blame for the latency.
Yeah. There's a reason projection is more popular. And it's because, besides being smaller, which is just convenient, and having only one input of each type, so it's just structurally easier. You don't have to debond to use it. You can just project directly onto the finished structure, which we do see some people do. They make the finished structure and then project.
I like that we've been seeing the hex arm motif, where you just plonk a hex arm with the Quicksilver atom and get that Hexsilver rotating until it overclocks 3 million cycles from now, and just like wait for the projection to come to you. And it's like a nice basic, I don't have to worry about this part of the puzzle motif.
Yeah. Well, the last thing I was going to say was I find oftentimes when I make a puzzle like this where I have two different pipelines feeding into a symmetric construction like this purification glyph, it always comes so that the first pipeline I place, feeds two atoms before the second pipeline has fed one atom. And I'm username void avoids this problem, and actually, the coppers arrive in sync. So it's good.
That's one of the parts of like the rate metric, just the actual rate metric that I always struggle a bit with. The people's impressive starting synchronization stuff that they do, like initialization.
Yeah.
That is one part. That's like the one part of the rate metric that always impresses me. All right, moving on.
Yeah. So we have Ebenov in 16th place with 58 cycles, a modest drop. So again, we have waste going off to infinity. Is there... I mean, you could just put a disposal glyph, right? Are these atoms...
And then have the arms loop. Well, maybe the solve probably still doesn't loop, but...
Right, but it just makes me slightly happier. Yeah, and then this could loop. I mean, this would... I guess you could make this one loop, you could make this one loop, and then I think this will probably crash somewhere, right?
Oh, I think the problem is because...
Can't resist tinkering. I'm sorry. I apologize, Ebenov. I had to do it. It's probably going to crash over here, I think.
So the solution title tells me that there was a non-zero amount of effort, but Ebenov didn't stress too hard over it. Looping primary.
Looping! It has to loop. I like looping, which...
Should have made a looping primary.
Is not at all obvious from the puzzle design. Okay, I completely ruined Ebenov's solve. Let me put it back. Actually, I'm going to just do this. And it resets.
Until it's okay again.
Oh, did that not reset? Oh, I have to do... I think my code is smart enough to know that it's on the same thing, so it doesn't copy it again. Okay, yeah, so Ebenov solve, we see the Quicksilver moving. It's sort of, I don't know how to feel about that design. It's like you're getting the copper like a peak of what is to come. It's like, haha, you're going to be silver soon. But
I think it's to move the whole thing, so the actual output doesn't need... Or actually, I mean, you have that one arm at the very start that grabs it.
This structure we have going on the left, where these arms, they each pick up one dimer and carry them around and then insert them into the top.
This looks like forward first. It was built forward first. It was built like... Okay, I'm gonna have this like cool Quicksilver thing that moves the train, and then Ebenov has gone, oh wait, what if I'm done and I don't have any more Quicksilver? Oh, let me just throw an arm out to the far right to just grab the actual output halfway in so that it keeps moving.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it wasn't, so I think that's why that exists, and because I don't think Ebenov had enough in the tank to iterate, because it's a pre-tournament warm-up. He's just like, okay, I'll just submit this. But I imagine if Ebenov kept going, probably would have wanted to like find a cooler, clever way that didn't involve that arm on the far right.
Yeah. Well, I think that you get a lot of latency from picking up these dimers and carrying them over. It's just physically going a long distance because you go to the left, then up left, then up right. You know, it just takes a
What?
long time. So I think we see two dimers being carried to the left before anything goes to the right. Actually, I think we see three go to the left. We see three go to the left to fill this pipeline. Sorry?
Oh, one thing that might have actually saved a cycle or two is to have 21 not even bother. I think it like drops and re-grabs, but if you had two minuses instead, oh, no, it's two pluses. Never mind. You could maybe save a cycle or two.
Let's find out. I will do that much tinkering at least. So it is currently 58 cycles. Oh, Ebenov writes, pseudoperiod 6. The bottleneck is turning the input stream. A pseudoperiod not multiple of 3 would allow... Oh. Well, I see a problem.
Oh.
Excuse me.
Okay.
A pseudoperiod not multiple of 3 would allow copper waste handed off in a chain, and folding quicksilver into height 3 tube would make the chain validate before tail optimization. Then with the main chain handoff worked out, the whole thing might loop. Okay, so Ebenov did want this to loop.
He did actually. Okay, so looping, he tried. There was thought put in, but
and not just looping, he wanted
it.
infinite output. Which the thing is, if you do this, it's not validating anymore. So that's what he says, or they say, folding quicksilver into the height 3 tube should make the chain validate before tail. I think that's what they mean by that. But I think they're suggesting they'd have to have the quicksilver up here to make it validate. Anyhow.
I think you have to have it to the left or to the right.
Yeah. But not. You have to fit it within the two.
Main stick part. Yeah, you couldn't. No, I don't think that would validate. And maybe I'm wrong. It is polymer jank, but I don't think that validates. So there might be a slight error on Ebenov's part, but if you put it like if you put a quicksilver next to the very first silver atom, I think you could put one there and find a way to keep that looping forever.
Yeah. Anyhow, maybe one thing that is driving the stream forward at a steady rate is the fact that none of these loop, so I feel compelled to move on once they hit 50 cycles.
Rude.
Next up in 15th place is Fuyu with 55 cycles, titled The Weave. We get some hex arms coming back. And some beautiful pluses.
Nice. Not so nice. I said all pluses. That's disappointing. I've been seeing a lot of minuses.
What I find the real chaotic neutrals, the people who mix them.
That is chaotic.
It's really simple design. It's keep have the hex arm hold the two things and step it on over the projection glyph.
This is very simple.
Which
one of the more simple solves I've seen in a while, actually.
I guess it doesn't speed cycles, but it's saving you the instructions tertiary, which didn't matter.
It's pretty decent on cycles because it does keep throughput pretty high. It is grabbing once every period, and the weave idea cuts down on latency because it's simple. It doesn't require a lot of moving around.
Yeah, I guess this is the same path I was criticizing Ebenov for earlier, adding latency because you have to go around, but somehow it saved 3 cycles. I think maybe it went less far to the left. Could be the difference.
It's definitely, I think it's a shorter pipeline.
Yeah.
3 cycles is like a single period.
Yeah, I think we see the pipeline that goes to the left, it picks up 2, and then the third input goes to the right, whereas Ebenov, we saw 3 inputs go to the left, and the 4th input went to the right. So we save a whole input time, which I guess is 3 cycles. Yeah, just this kind of thing. You make a solve that looks like that, and you're like, I mean, how are you going any faster than this? I did it. I made the output.
It's very logical.
Yeah. But we do have faster. And I'm going to head right on down 6 cycles faster to number 14
6.
with John at 49 cycles. Here we have the zigzag we were talking about before, but there's only one arm on it this time.
That's aesthetic.
Yeah. I like
Get the big try-ons going.
Yeah. You always feel good when you have, a big, strong tri-arm driving your solve forward, right?
Also, that one zigzag arm is doing 2 translation movements. So it is spending most of its time moving.
Yeah, which is important.
Which is how it's keeping up with this rate of grabbing once every 3.
So this is a nice structure. I'm actually going to tab through this. Sorry. So we have arm 2 swings 1 input over here. And then arm 3, I can't tell. It swings the same input around a different rotation spot and plops the second thing here. So there's a timing issue in that 2 has to get the copper out of the way. But in these 2 simple swings, you've already built the correct structure. Now all you're doing is missing the quicksilver, but I would say missing, except for arm 4 has already fed it. So we are 6 cycles in and we've already made the monomer.
This is some nice geometry with those 2 big tri-arms.
Yeah.
Kind of like, rotating at different points, grabbing the... Because, the key point is that it's grabbing the actual input at different areas, which will change the way the whole thing rotates. So arm 2 actually does like a more... It actually rotates the entire molecule further than the arm 3 will, just because of the different grab point, and that naturally sets up where you put like the disposal glyph, the debonder, and the rebonder, and suddenly you have the right shape already. And arm 1 can just go burr and like surgery the rest of the thing together.
Yeah. And one thing I thought was important to the puzzle design is there are multiple ways to get to the structure that feel natural. And John writes, this feels right for the solution title. And, you look at this kind of structure and you're like, that is one of the cleanest monomer assemblies we can see. There are other ways to make this monomer. I think nobody chose this input where you have a bunch of these going along the top and then you stick the dimers on the bottom. I don't think anyone did that. But
No, I haven't seen a solve do that yet. I never considered putting it together like that, but now that you're pointing it out, I'm like, yeah, that's valid.
Yeah, it's probably bad. It's probably a reason no one did it that way. This design,
but I do like your point.
You have one go here
and
one
about
here.
There being multiple. Yeah, I like your point about there being multiple valid construction routes, because that is also something I look for.
Yeah.
Stuff like Cuprite comes to mind, where like there are 4 different ways to break it apart, and like just multiple bonding routes or multiple like ways to put the thing together, which I think is important for when you're designing competitive puzzles. That's one thing I'm always like trying to look for. That's like one of my like ideologies in puzzle design.
John writes,
because it makes the player have to actually choose. And sorry, you go.
Yeah. John writes, surely period 2 is impossible, right? Because you can't upgrade metals without drops, so you somehow need to rotate the copper-silver triplex. It really feels like there's no way. We are getting more and more people teasing the question of whether period 2 can happen. And I got a lot of interesting DMs from people convinced one way or the other. And not all the DMs I received were correct.
John just wrote in
Necessarily.
chat, I now know what I missed, dot, dot, dot.
And meanwhile, we see Caloresis saying, pretty sure period 2 is impossible. Well,
On the other hand,
it-
yeah.
the
Callie
self-proclaimed
Reese is saying that is...
period main has spoken. I think so. The period primary production puzzle in 2023. Who won that puzzle? Do you remember
Sorry, which puzzle? Say that again.
the 2023 puzzle?
The period primary puzzle.
Yeah.
It might have... Yeah, probe module. Yeah.
Pentapig.
I think it was Pentapig 2.
Okay.
I think it was Pentapig. This is Pentapig in a production chamber we're talking about, so...
Yeah.
He's pretty unbeatable now. I think it was. I agree.
But if period 2 is impossible, and we're at 49 cycles in 14th place, that's a lot of cycle improvement to fit in the next 13
Well,
solves.
that means we could about to get a cluster and have the cycle count drop very slowly. That is one thing that could happen if we don't see period 3.
Another thing that could
Period
happen
2.
is ties. We are coming.
And ties. Could be getting ties.
We are coming up on our one and only secondary tie. There were a few very close secondary ties, but this is an actual secondary tie with Spect 98, period 3, title period, 47 cycles and 24 instructions. Let me zoom out.
Oh, we were wrong. It was Callie Reese's that won probe module.
Ah,
Period main.
yeah. I do remember he called himself period main. And Caloresis is, of course, good at quite a lot of different metrics. So, period main is
It also win a tournament.
yeah, well, yeah, that is related. So if he calls himself period main, that's scary. We see extremely briefly again a gold atom. That's exciting.
Gold atom spotted.
Okay, so not often we saw rotating hex arms for the big input.
The first time, yeah.
And also not very often that we see silver waste. It's like, what are you doing? You work so hard for that silver.
You need that silver, right?
Yeah, but...
Don't you need that silver?
Okay, so we're going to tab through this because I think it's quite hard to see what's going on. But so 4 carries away over here a wand. So the first grab is just to be a wand. And 2 and 3 are here projecting as fast as they can, which due to an acute case of streamer brain, I cannot tell you how fast that is. So we have...
It's the usual one every 3 cycles.
So this is one monomer here,
right?
And this is another monomer here. And you see the first monomer, the middle silver gets projected, which is something I don't think we've seen before. I don't think we've ever seen this middle copper get projected. I may be wrong. And then, so arm 3 again projects the middle of the third monomer to go this way. And then arm 2 is projecting the end of the other. So every other monomer, the middle gets projected and the end gets projected. And then and then I think this silver gets thrown away to trash, or maybe not. No, this silver gets thrown away to trash. Which was an input silver. So it was not projected, thank goodness. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, that's why it's being thrown out, because the solve elects to project it's projecting both of the all the silver you see in the output. So I think it's 1 every 2 of that grabbed silver has to be thrown out. but only one every two because of the way this
Correct.
is like. Yeah, it's structured so that like we're just clumping two inputs together, and we're just going to turn two inputs into one output, and whatever that sixth atom is, we're to throw it out, and it happens to be one of the two silver inputs that is grabbed by arm one.
So the first monomer
So
becomes
usually
this
you throw
shape.
out every.
Yeah.
So the way of throwing, the way of thinking about it is that instead of like usually we've seen disposal glyphs, it's like every input you like clip, get rid of a copper, but instead here it's like a silver every two.
Yeah. So the first monomer gets placed here on the output, and the second monomer gets placed here. So the middle silver, the first monomer gets projected, and the top silver gets thrown away. And here, the bottom silver of the second monomer gets projected, and this all gets glued together. And I guess that's because when you have this and this, you can see the imaginary hex arm located here can grab both. So it's a
Exactly.
very simple motif that picks up both with the same type of motion, which is good for
That's one thing that
yeah.
that kind of geometry thing where you pick up a like do the rotate thing where you're like I can see a hex arm thing. That's something that like you and I can see that because we're experienced players, and that's like a visualization skill you pick up over time. So newer players might be a bit what the hell are you talking about, but like yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. But it is a clever geometry find, and Spec 98 is very good at that exact kind of thing. So yeah.
I see in the chat that Jamu writes, "Oh God, I need to get some Sprite." They are concerned that period 2 may be incoming. Uh, yes, so this is a good way to. This saves instructions by having one arm do two jobs. You know, having hex arms and tri-arms and so on. But for not. Well, anyhow, Specs98 writes, didn't really want to do optimization, but period 3 was a fun challenge anyway. I'm very happy to see that result because I don't want people to spend a huge amount of effort optimizing for what's supposed to be a casual thing. Just, you know, it should be a nice bite-sized challenge. And then you don't optimize and you get beat in the tertiaries by Kevlarn. With Charlie Brown. I guess a Christmas reference.
Gold atom detected.
Yes, and zigzag. But again, only one arm on it, so it's less satisfying than seeing, you know, 6 arms in parallel move on a zigzag. Excuse me. Yeah, so this is 9 instructions smaller, which means I think 5 arms versus 8 arms. I'm actually going to go back and check briefly through my extremely jank system. So we should have 8 arms here. Actually, that's quite a lot of arms
15
here.
instructions is
Just for the waist.
yeah, just 3 arms on waist.
It feels a little silly to overanalyze this so much when this was the only secondary try, but that means this is my only opportunity to overanalyze this way too much. So, you know, you gotta take it.
That big chance to actually look at the instructions tertiary. This Kevlar solve, yeah, only 5 arms taking care of the whole thing.
It is
pretty nice.
Really clean. I was gonna say this is the lowest instruction submission, but not great to the 4 instruction one, so.
I actually do wonder if you can replace that diamond track with a length 2 tri-arm and save more instructions.
Ooh, could you? I think you'll have. Oh, I guess you put the.
It might.
So down. That would collide. I guess you could swing this way without colliding.
I think it might collide. It might collide. That's a maybe collision. But yeah.
Its pauses here. You can do it 2 cycles later. No, but then this collides here.
Hang on, maybe all right.
Maybe what?
Oh, no, it counts as tinkering. No, maybe we
Yes.
shouldn't look at it too hard.
Yes. Um, yeah. Well, 47 cycles. Proper fast. So is this? I guess we've been looking at grabbing one every three for a while now.
We have.
Okay.
So this is kind of one every three, but it's not at that exact cadence. It's like two every six, but
Right. Right. I don't. I don't see how this works. This feels like a little bit of TI tech leaking in. This thing
this
where
I believe Kevlan likes himself some TI. So I think that looks TI brained. That's a nice. I think it's a pretty cool way to just like stick the two inputs together and clip off the right. After you clip off the right copper atom, that zigzag train arm 3 naturally fixes it, kind of through
Yep.
a wanding style with that debond rebond, and suddenly it's the right shape.
yeah, and also
But then it's the right shape,
yeah. Because when I look at this, I do
and you
not
do
see
just
the
a
output.
tiny bit of surgery.
When I look at these two monomers put together this way, I do not think, oh yeah, that looks like Tinsel monomer. No, it just looks like a
Reminds
pile
me
of
of-
metal.
It's like how you remember Biggie's winning Tarkle solve from the tournament this year?
Yeah,
It was a
yeah.
lot like that. Like, how the hell did you get the output from that?
This is a little less intense. That one was something.
Yeah, that's that, but like, yeah, that concept, but like the extreme end of that concept. But this is the same concept of how the hell do you get the output from that?
Yeah, this feels very TI. If I sat down to solve this puzzle for the first time, and I did solve this puzzle by the way, I would never think, oh yeah, I'll put them in that structure. I only try things that lead in a monotonic path towards the output. Well, and then we see Cavaler's notes. Spent most of my time just finding a good 2-reagent monomer to start with. It feels like there's some super obvious ways, and then Cavaler found this much less obvious way that is inexplicably faster and incredibly few instructions. But not
I'm
faster
also
enough.
handling disposal because ARM2 handles disposal for free. That's quite nice.
Yeah, we see a lot of people have a train of like 6 arms carrying copper atoms off to infinity. Not here. That would be the whole instruction budget. Next up, we have JPIV, who might have actually been our most prolific submitter. JPIV, did I click it? There we go. Submitted steady improvements throughout the week. For this beast of looking of a solve. You know something's interesting going on when you see this many projection glyphs.
Uh-huh.
And it pains me, but yes, silver is getting disposed. Yeah, 11th place with only 39 cycles. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
That's a cycle drop. Hang on, that sounds like it. That sounds like we just increased the throughput.
I don't think so. I think it's still 1 every 3 inputs being grabbed.
Really?
Just
One
less
every three?
latency.
It is 1 every 3. Okay, that's just a huge ass latency drop.
Building from the right. I don't know how they feel that, but apparently it works. And I should have paused earlier. And this decision of how to do projection. I think every single Quicksilver is now visible on screen. Let me zoom in a little. Tab. You saw this one project into the cycle, this project the beginning of the cycle. Tab. Projected the rest except for the start here. And then 22 just moves out of the way.
I think moves out of the way just in time. Yeah.
Yeah, so this would block. I didn't notice this when I was first looking at solutions. This is in the way, right?
Right, because ARM 22 is purely input suppression.
Yeah. Is it input suppression? Well, it has that effect. It's moving. Yeah. So we just moved the quicksilver out of the way of the lead copper atom, so that this can now suppress the quicksilver. And then, of course, you can't stay there, so you gotta go.
So I like ARM 1 a lot here in this solve because it is a compressed zigzag, but that kink at the end of the zigzag is very important because it does two things. First of all, it changes ARM 1's movement cadence so that the projection actually fires when if you just kept the zigzag going normally, it wouldn't have fired. And it also suppresses that input and keeps it suppressed until it actually moves it onto the validating output and solves the puzzle. So, like, that's some clever ass. That's not only geometry, but that's timing. That kink serves two purposes completely differently, and it synchronizes very nicely.
I did not notice that before. So the quicksilver is dropped here, and then it's grabbed. So preventing the projection from happening premature is extremely important, because otherwise you just have 3 gold atoms and no silver. Right.
True. ARM 1's also the MVP because it's a double minus ARM.
In a world of plus arms, the double minus comes to the rescue. Yes.
The double minus ARM is the clutch ARM.
So let's take a moment to see. So I think this is the same one we saw with the previous structure that threw away silver. We have one monomer goes up here, and one monomer goes here. So
yeah, it's the same as Spec 98, but without one giant hexarm rotating everything.
And having it structured this way makes it a lot easier to actually see.
It's actually really nice. It just clips off that silver atom, and as much as it is disposing silver, that is rather clever.
Yeah, definitely.
And way because those two copper atoms are already triplex bonded in the right orientation, so you only need one rotate.
Right. I like the sort of desynchronized drop the copper dimer takes down here because, of course, it has a triplex bond. It needs to be replaced by a regular bond. So you have to unbond it and rebond it. I think what we saw a lot of other people do is that to unbond, so they would first make a bond the other way to keep the structure intact as one structure. Then they would delete the triplex bond. Then they'd reforge a regular bond, and then they'd delete the extraneous bond. And that's just more steps, which adds latency. So doing this...
Mr. Royal Spade.
Yep.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, you go. Oh, Mr. Royal Spade with a nice catch in chat. Those hexarms are hexarms purely to save instructions.
Yes, 100%. I think one of JPEG's earliest submissions did that change. It was someone who submitted a lot of times. I saw their solutions go from all regular arms to half as many hex arms. I was like, yeah, that does say tertiary. 65 instructions is one of the highest instruction counts we're going to see, though. Not the highest, and we did see 112 instructions from Trixie Kagami Alchemy Company and 65 instructions from Ivanov. But even with this little optimization, it's quite a high instruction count. Right, anyhow, I was just saying doing this is a little bit annoying because you have to move 2 separate molecules, but it saves you on latency because there's just fewer steps to make the product.
Yeah.
Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Okay. How much lower do you think the cycle count is going?
Yeah, I think it goes pretty low. We saw 31 earlier in period 4. I wonder if if you can increase the throughput, that cycle count can keep dropping. If you find a way to grab more than once every 3, that cycle count can drop pretty low.
Well, don't, because cycles is not primary. I can't be 100% sure about which submissions were, but looking at the ones that are on the leaderboard, um, uh, I can tell you 31 cycles is the fastest solve from Matrix, and 39 cycles from JPEG
Oh,
is the second fastest solve submitted.
that means Kelly Reese's is next, does it?
It means someone is next. Who is
Oh,
next, in
okay, all right.
fact? But
Oh, who is?
39 cycles is the fastest period 3. And that means we are going down to period 2. The much
Oh, so what
anticipated.
was Kelly Reese's gaslighting that saying period 2 was impossible?
Maybe colors just didn't submit. Period main on a free space period puzzle.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay.
I will say, yeah, congratulations, JPIV, on fastest period 3. Yeah. And Clarice has had a comment early on in the stream about there was no Quicksilver in this puzzle, so I think that was a little bit of a hint. Shall we talk about period 2 a little bit now that the cat is out of the bag? That it
So
is
this is the
coming.
fastest period 3.
Yep, we have 10 period 2
Okay. All right.
solves.
So you got min secondary, not at primary. So phallic victory. No, that's not the word.
Oh, a what victory, Zorfax?
Pyrrhic. Pyrrhic.
Yes, a Pyrrhic victory. Which
Oh,
I know we are making
what a step.
polymers, but I don't think it really looks that phallic.
All right, let's move on.
Well, we have to talk. So next up is the test solve, but I'm going to skip it a little bit, and we're going to come back to it. We're going to look at the 10th place submission, so the slowest period 2, the slowest scoring period 2, which is Spiritual Shampoo with 372 cycles.
372.
Okay, I'm not going to
That's
hit.
either a low effort that's either low effort or it's a protest.
You'll know which very soon.
That's a protest submission.
That is
Got
a
it.
protest submission. This is should have been free space I, the solve. You can read that between the letters of New Solution 1. Yeah, so Zorflex, you obviously messaged me right away saying that period 2 looked possible, but you weren't sure either way. So can you tell me sort of what you were thinking about in terms of period 2 for this puzzle, and then we'll talk about spiritual shampoo solution in particular in a little bit.
I took one look at this puzzle and went, it's period 2, isn't it? That's like the first thought I had when I saw the metric. I'm like, this is that period 2 jank that we didn't explore in Thermal Fuse. Which is why I had to like bite my tongue a bit up to this point, because that's also why I didn't submit, because I would have like, because yeah, I'm like, I would have needed to submit a period 2 solve, and that takes actual effort because it is a pain. But
Oh yeah,
okay, yeah, I think that ties into. All right, now we're going to talk about spiritual shampoos solve a bit, because we can start talking about period 2 theory, because the drop instruction is a thing of the past.
looping
There's also
long
rotating. Yep. So pay attention to the rotates, because those are key moments, because rotating is a bitch at period 2.
gone. Oh yeah. So yes, I don't know when I decided I wanted to make a period puzzle, but I knew it was going to be period 2. And I wanted to have it look like period 2 was impossible. So in the Mad Master criteria for what makes period 2 possible or impossible, one thing he doesn't talk about is rotation, because usually rotation is not an interesting problem. But by having triplex bonded metal atoms, I can force you to maintain the inputs, and now suddenly the input atoms and their bonds, and now suddenly the orientation of the input becomes important. So
I like that change because you can't rotate the output. And also no, that's not actually the interesting part. The interesting part is that because the triplex bonds are at a different orientation from each other, and you have to maintain them, so you have to get that rotate, and that's a bitch. See, with thermal fuse, I totally didn't think at all about period 2. I was shocked it was close to even happening at
it was
4.
close, yeah.
Because I think period 2 is easier on thermal fuse than it is here. So I quite like how this puzzle actually was kind of designed with this in mind, and for that to be the core challenge. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah. This was intended to be roughly as hard as period 2 can get, and yet we had 10 people submit it. I was thinking, so long as 2 or 3 or 4, but no, 10 people got period 2. And yeah, so the rotation is important. And you mentioned the fact you can't rotate polymers. So one of the first iterations had 2 polymer outputs. And each of them
2 polymer outputs.
Only used one orientation, but they weren't consistent with each other. So like this, it forced you to do rotation, but in a sort of more coy way, where you were like, oh, if only I could rotate one of the outputs, it'd be fine, but I can't rotate the output, therefore it's impossible, except for it is possible because you can rotate. So yeah, it was going to be 2 polymer outputs, and actually I think I had them simply be 180-degree rotations of each other. So what you could do is you could make one of the polymers, and then you could wand that polymer 180 degrees around, do 3 turns, and instantly fulfill the other polymer. So you'd have one polymer here, you'd send it, you'd send it into a wand, you'd have to debond the thing you're holding it by. That wand would rotate 3 times, and then your other polymer would be here, and you fulfill both polymers with one output. And the reason that's important is one of the criteria that Madmaster elucidated and didn't talk about too much in detail. You are limited to your ability to where you can place the arms, the grab input. Arms that grab input must be near the input, and there's just only so much physical space you can have near the input.
Because this is why thermal fuse period 2 didn't happen at height 4. There just wasn't enough room. There was room in free space, but there was just like a dozen arms surrounding the inputs. Because yes, there is only so many arms that can grab inputs.
Yeah. And so I had intended that you had enough material to build one polymer, but not enough to build both polymers. So you're forced to do the wanding flip it over trick to have enough material to make the output when there were 2 polymers. I think I'm glad I didn't go down that road for a few reasons. One, people kind of don't like making polymer outputs, and people really don't like making 2 polymer outputs. It was a little bit too similar to ferrofilament that was this summer, especially because the layout I had with any polymer was quite similar. So it was actually going to look extremely similar to ferrofilament.
Also, I think having 2 outputs, it kind of makes... I think it doesn't actually add to the difficulty at all, but it does make it more like there's more stuff to do. So I think having just both orientations be on the same output just makes it less... There's less tedium involved.
Yeah.
Unless you make a protest solve.
I think it's a little more interesting this way. I do think... Also, the other reason why I didn't go for that is then it makes it like if you know the idea that you can reuse one polymer output as another polymer output, then it's trivial. And if you don't know that idea, then you just can't do the puzzle. And that's sort of stupid to have do you solve it based on do you know this one idea, even if it is a well-known idea.
They didn't. No. So the idea, I believe Shadow Cluster's right in chat. It's recycling that you're talking about, right? Having it validate one output,
correct,
and then and then using it for the other one.
Yeah, I forgot the term
Yeah,
recycling.
that's recycling. We haven't seen that since 2019. That is how long it has been since that is a relevant concept.
Yeah.
Was it relevant in maybe in 2021 it was relevant, but yeah, it hasn't been seen in years. So yeah, that's like that's some old tech.
Yeah, so this is going to be a period 2 forced recycling solve. You could not do it at period 2 without recycling. Which
Well, that is interesting, but also
I just
yes,
don't think
the
it's a
bar
good
for entry is
design.
insane high.
Well, I think a lot of people
I
know about
won't dismiss
recycling.
it.
But anyhow, I
I
think
won't dismiss it, but
this is
yeah,
a
there's a
little
lot
bit
of people
better.
who also don't know about recycling.
What else does it say about period 2? Yes, so there is no metal promotion because whether you're purifying or projecting, that you have to drop an atom, and there's no dropping atoms anymore. So the only source of silver is the input, which means since the output is 18 silvers, you must take 18 inputs minimum. And yes, as we have said several times, this is a protest solve because Spiritual Shampoo found the free space I puzzle that was clearly lurking within the free space period puzzle. Now, I think we've watched this a few times, so I'm going to go back to the test solve, which is placed slightly worse than this at 396 cycles. So yeah, here we have the test solve. And this is...
This your period 2 was this the period 2 is possible solve?
It was a little bit that, and also there was some stubbornness in this. And
Hang on, can I look at the map real quick for this solve?
there's a few tracks.
Whoa!
There's
It's a few. Holy shit!
Actually, let's take a moment to look at Spiritual Shampoo's map. Okay. So Spiritual Shampoo does the what are turns style of disposal, which is quite popular. Those waste atoms can go off to infinity. But going back to my solve. So one thing I did that was really bad, and you will not see, I think, in any of the solves, was the way I reused track between different arms. So here I have multiple arms with the same orientation on the same track, but different length. So you see this track pointing off to the left has a length 3 arm, a length 2 arm, a length 3 arm. This track going to the bottom right
Biggie.
has a length 1, a length 2, a length 3. Oh, it's Biggie here. Hello.
Yeah, you can see all the arms huddled around the input.
So this structure of having the arms the same orientation of the same track, I think is really bad. It makes it super hard to work with. I think what other people mostly did, but we should pay attention when we look at their solves, they mostly had arms of the same length on the same track but different orientation. So that let you do let you have a bunch of tracks in parallel like this. So you have all the all the length 3 arms, all the length 2 arms, all the length 1 arms on parallel tracks. And that's much cleaner than what I did here. And the other thing I did here was I test solved PI. So I had instructions as a secondary, which I believe someone in the Discord chat suggested that and said that would be worse. And I agree after test solving it. PI is worse. So you need
it would just be like 2 or 3 arms. Oh, not 2 or 3, but like, yeah, it would be less watchable and probably not a good design. Like, probably not a good thing to encourage.
So you must have 18 arms grabbing the input, and you must have 1 arm rotating.
Right.
So the minimum possible is
Okay.
18 arms if there's 1 arm that does both jobs. And I think that might actually be possible. I'm not sure. This is 19 arms. We are looking at 18 of the arms, and elsewhere, somewhere, there is an arm that rotates. So this is 19, which is close to and possibly min secondary. And I was really worried after designing this that there were two problems with doing PI with I secondary. There are actually several issues. With period 2, you just have to do 19 arms, or maybe 18 if that's minimum. So then it becomes a tertiary race, which is kind of less good. Another issue is this is really painful to do, it turns out. And also, I think it's less interesting at period 3. Sorry, go ahead.
No, so the thing that I'm thinking is because, like, it will turn into a cycles race at some point. So with instruction secondary, you're just confining the cycles race to a 19 arm or 18 arm cycles race. Or you just make cycles the secondary, and suddenly arm count is not an object. That is, you get as many as you want to make it as quick as you need, and that's a more interesting cycles race.
Yeah,
I'm thinking.
I think this would be less interesting if everyone had to do 19 arms.
Shadowcoster did mention a cost secondary, which might have been interesting.
I didn't want you to feel like you had to save track. I wanted you to be like, just put as much track as you want.
Okay.
Nothing but. Now, before I did the instruction secondary, I had in my mind, I had a different plan. And it was way worse. It is the worst possible choice they could have done for secondary. I was originally planning on doing track segments as my secondary, so PTC.
Oh, track segments.
So this is
That would have been
one.
weird as shit.
This is one. This is one.
Oh. Oh, that would have been terrible.
Oh yeah. I think it's a.
Well, unless you're Cuckoo 52, then it would have been great.
I think it's a really interesting challenge. I think it'd just be completely miserable to code up. To
That's
draw
just
the
the
track.
Cuckoo 52 challenge. I could have told you ahead of time who was winning that one, but that would have been like a shit puzzle
Yes.
idea.
Mr. Royal Spade says, "You're so right. That would have been awful."
It would have been.
Yes. So to win, you would need to get all of your arms onto one track. It would have been terrible.
Before we move on, I do want to see how this actually solves.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Calabrisis mentions vanilla solvers. I did all this without track splitting. The only model tool I used when making this was the zoom tool, which was actually quite helpful. Excuse me. And while we're enjoying these 400 cycles, I'm actually going to start over because I forgot to actually say what was going on. So first, we have in the upper right, we're building these structures where, okay, so 6 of the arms, I have totally forgotten what this solve does. Forget it. Okay, so we have a bunch of solves going.
You didn't study this whole.
I didn't solve this. You'll see the common thing here is we have silver, copper, silver, this structure that's being wanded to the upper left. And we also see, these are wastes. So this copper, copper. Anything that's not silver, I don't care about. So we're getting 6 of these silver, copper, silvers going upper to the left. And because each silver requires an input, that means each silver comes with 2 copper waste. So we also have 6 copper, copper wastes going upper left. Then down here, okay, so here's a few more going to the upper right after looping around. Now here we have copper silver dimers being wanded over. And where are they all going? They're going over here. I'm going to zoom out again.
Good question.
So here we see silver, copper, silver, silver, copper, silver. So we're building all these up. And then we're building these. And there was just a little bit of extra wanding here where one of the copper waste was being used to carry something. Excuse me.
This takes me back to Criterion.
And here we have the arms flying away. Okay, and now the spin arm begins. I'm going to tab.
The rotate.
I'm going to just play.
Oh my god.
I just really wanted it to do this. It was so hard to do. It took me forever.
It just keeps rotating.
So let's get back to this point. Yeah, so, and you'll notice there's one extra copper here, and there's a reason for that, which is if I zoom in,
That's what it grabs, right?
this swing here, this silver and this copper almost touch. And if...
Whoa!
So,
Hang on, that's wicked.
what I did was I looked up wherever I saw the radius of an atom, and I figured out how much clearance I needed, and I calculated because if you put the rotation here, they will collide. But it was like super close, and I found...
Oh, so it can't just grab that. Wait, hang on. So if it grabs that copper, it would have collided. But if you extend it out and grab that copper, it doesn't collide.
Yes. So, however it was shaped, you have to... So I just kept adding one until I found it wouldn't collide, and one was sufficient. So, but if this was not sufficient, I could have added 2 copper. And if 2 was not sufficient, I could have done 3
Oh,
copper.
it's because it would have been a smaller swing. It's because it would have been
Exactly.
a slightly smaller swing.
So,
Okay. All right.
so I had
Wow,
fun
that's
solving it my own way. There's a reason no one did this, because this is pretty bad for cycles count. But
pretty bad.
yes, I think Eggsucker 888 makes a very good point in the chat. Didn't think about making grab the second instruction. I think we've had a bit of time looking at my solve, so let's move on to number 9.
We got a top 10 to break down.
Yeah, because we got some pretty good stuff ahead, and there is some very interesting designs. In number 9, we have Mr. Royal Spade with 318 cycles, the P2 Kraken. And I'm just, yes. And this is so called, Mr. Royal Spade was submitting quite a few times throughout the week, almost all at period 3. And
I did see the rotate right at the start of the solve.
Yeah. And at some point, I believe they might have DM'd me,
Pivot.
and they said like something to the effect of, "Wait, is period 2 possible?" And they worked for it, and they found a way to do period 2. So this again, we see a little bit of a reprisal of free space instructions lurking within. There might be a bit of stream lag, so you haven't gone on that part yet. I don't know.
The fishing, the wanding bit where it's. So yeah, so the individual monomers are in the right shape, but they're bonded together wrong. So it just fixes that up at the end.
So,
Okay,
yeah.
we see the key rotation. It's not even that much. It's not even that painful. It's just one arm pivoting.
Yeah, it turns out if you don't do it the way I did it, it's a lot easier. but I just was not the right way to solve this puzzle. But I wanted to do it. So they call this the P2 Kraken because I believe their period 3 solve was called the P3 Octopus. And we will see it in the showcases, I believe. So the period 2 Kraken, arms everywhere, lots of arms. And you see that what Mr. Royal Spade is doing here, how the rotation happens, is all at once.
Pretty simple pivot.
2 cycles.
Yeah.
2 cycles and the rotation's done. So make one brick that has all the bonds that are the wrong orientation. And then you just pivot and drop. I'm actually going to play that again from the beginning.
Yeah.
So this...
Yeah, I think that's a key insight. Instead of trying to think about how to rotate every one individually, you don't. You rotate them all at once.
Exactly. And we saw the same with... I believe we saw the same with Spiritual Shampoo. You just make a brick at the beginning, which is way easier. So it's fine to bond them together. Whatever, you break the bonds later. That's fine. Way easier to make a brick out of the input, and then just most of your arms go off to infinity as waste. Actually, let's look at the map. Yep, we have the straight line design. So that's a way easier to extract input than what I did, where every single one is carried separately with no bricking. And once you've built this brick, it's super easy to just rotate a brick. And now we got a brick in the correct orientation. We have, so here's the two other bricks. This one we only need the silvers, and this one we need the bonds, but it picks it up. And then where Mr. Road Spade falls behind, being in 9th place rather than 1st, is now that we have the big brick, we process it slowly. So having one arm do all the processing
at the end.
I like this the shape of the track. That's sort of a fun, repeated. It's kind of like ornaments almost.
It's actually not dissimilar to the spiritual shampoo protest solve.
Yeah. And I think, was it Executor 888 was saying? Yes, about the having grab be the second instruction. I think that was something that either Madmaster or someone else had pointed out in the HPC stream of Thermal Fuse. And I was tempted to explicitly link this old stream and be like, hey, this might be useful to know, but I think most people know about it. Reward people who are more familiar with past puzzles.
It's also a good place to just find inspiration, just old VODs of stuff that has been explored in the past, and something at the showcase happens at the end, and you're like, oh, hang on.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Spade writes, for a P2 solution, this needs surprisingly little explanation. 1, I rotate a chunk of triplet bonds to put silver on top. I keep a chunk of triplex bonds normal, and I make a row of silver. So that's what we see now. I use the silver to sandwich everything together by using it as a wand to move the first chunk of triplex. 3, I break apart layers in horizontal slices and use some geometry to create the exact monomer shape. So that's happening now. And then I do a bunch of surgery. And then you see the copper atoms being left. No, there was one extraneous copper atom. And that's basically it. It took an insane amount of time, but it wasn't difficult, just tedious. There's some inefficiency in this process, so I imagine I'll get beat by a better idea, but I'm incredibly proud of what I managed to create. I'm not sure, I believe Mr. Spade is one of only 2 people to get period 2 who had submitted period 3 or period 4 before. Very few people submitted at periods 3 or 4 and then later found period 2.
Yeah, I didn't do it in the end, but I took one look at the puzzle and I'm either doing this in period 2 or I'm not doing it, and sadly it was the latter.
Yeah. We are now looking at Puzzle. Who I guess.
Because the other thing is it's just like a different puzzle altogether when you're solving it at period 2 versus period 3.
Yeah, I never playtested at period 3. I was considering it, but I actually felt like I understood the limitations of period 2 much better than I understood the limitations of period 3, because there's a lot more you can do at period 3, and I sort of didn't know what you could do. But with period 2, I knew you got to move and you got to find something that rotates, and that's really all. There's no projection to think about, no purification. There's no choices. Well, I say no choices, but these period 2 cells are all very different from each other, and the
Holy zigzag.
P-Olar Express. I don't know how you're supposed to say P-Olar Express.
I think the P's separated because it's period.
Yeah. This is a solution. This is one of the solutions of all time. We have, what's that cycle? That's a very small cycle drop from 318 to 316.
Wow, yeah, a whole 2 cycles. That's a single period.
Whole 2 cycles. I am sure there's a way Mr. Rollspade could have saved 2 cycles in there. And somewhat distressingly, Puzzle wrote in the session notes lyrics. Lyrics, yes, lyrics. So there's a YouTube link, which
solution lyrics.
And I mentioned before. So I wrote this software in the last 2 weeks, last week I think maybe, that is running the show behind the scenes. And I clicked this, I press in to show the notes. I did not bother implementing copy paste because why would I? And then people put a YouTube link, so I'm like, okay, I can't copy paste that. I believe.
Oh yeah. So for those of you who weren't around earlier, who is actually streaming on Linux, and no one has streamed Opus Magnum on Linux before, so the normal AHKs don't work. So he's had to do everything, like the whole AHK part. He's had to rewrite that from scratch to get this stream up. So it's actually a huge effort to get this stream happening.
Yeah, a lot happened behind the scenes. Actually, I'm just going to bring up the admin page and have the link, and then I'll dump it in the Twitch chat. I don't know if Twitch chat complains about... Oh, Mr. Royal Spade, yes. Okay, so maybe I'll open this first. Yes. Okay. So this
you can link it in the you link it in the Twitch chat and people can have a look.
So it's the Polar Express main theme, clean instrumental, and this is why I'm distressed about lyrics. So I don't know this song at all. It's a makeshift engine on one track, never makes a drop. Flying with no metal glyphs in tow, you can watch the arms all on the run, trying to catch their friends, because that's the way things happen on the P2 Express. Oof, oof, the solver moans. 3's the usual limit, but grab act can be the min when a polymer's there. I wonder if it places well. Anybody's guess. I didn't optimize it. The P2 Express. And I see where Puzzle is coming from. Like, it's kind of like a train a little bit.
Are the zigzags all just to make sure everything's synchronized properly?
The zigzags are entirely
slow down the arms that need to slow down
for synchronization. Yes. Oh, I think these are for waist chains to the right. Oh,
that's just a
So I believe this is the brick that gets rotated. So let's watch that for a minute. This is quite the route it takes. And it always hurts me when I see this waist silver. It's like, it's extra wasted arms. So yeah, this one gets rotated. These 2 arms have a merry time chugging away, running. I guess these are like the wheels of the train. And then we have, yes, the head of the train has to catch up. So many zigzags. Could have had one more zigzag, and Mr. Puzzle would have snuck ahead at number 8.
I have to say, watching this solve with the Polar Express theme in the background adds so much. It makes this so much more fun to watch. It's making train noises and shit while you're watching the solve chug along the train tracks.
Is this supposed to look like a train? It kind of feels like it looks like a train. I feel like these are train wheels.
It's just like I think it like happens to look like a train.
Yeah, I feel Puzzle leaned into the trainness a little bit. Now I will point out one thing. So these waist tracks that go to the right, they connect to each other. So we had a little bit of the T quaternary optimization that I wanted. So I appreciate that. Just need to hook up every single track to every single other track. Is it actually one big loop? Wait a second. It's my dream solve.
Oh, is this
yes! Yes! Optimized for T. It's all I wanted.
Really? One track loop? Can you like pick up the whole thing and move it? You can! Holy shit.
Because it's a real challenge. You could not do this on my solve. On my solve, all the track loops end at the input, so you can't sneak them out again. Maybe you could if you paired
It's
them
one
off.
bit.
It'd
Wait,
be
it's just
really
one
hard.
train track. Always has been.
This makes me happy. Not so happy that I won't move on to the next solve, which is eggs upper checker 888 at a decent cycles drop down to 257. This is called inelegance. I know we played the game. Where is the solve? Ooh, that's quite the
You use
map.
the map function if you get lost. There we go.
So what do we got going on
Nice.
here? So once again, we're pulling off in a brick. I think we will be seeing this for all the remaining solves. But here we have this interesting staircase shape. I might have missed where the turn happens. I think. Okay, staircase shape is
I don't
starting to
think
look.
we've gotten the.
I think it happened up
I
here.
don't think we've gotten the turn yet. I think that big brick will do the turn
Oh,
eventually.
suspicious looking Quicksilver.
Sauce, there's one arm without a track.
Oh, yes. Okay,
Nice.
stream delay here. Okay, so what do we have going on? We have, once again, the big brick. So there's 6 arms carry the bottom pieces. So these bottom, I think it comes in as dimers. We see here, I did look at this all, but I've forgotten what happens. The dimers come in one at a time with 6 separate tracks, we see here. But the main chunk, the top chunk, taking advantage, so the whole backbone and the silver is sticking out the top of the backbone. They're all here. And I guess I find it a little bit interesting that these 2 arms in the 20s, what are they, 21 and 22, the brick does not come to them. They go to the brick. I think we mostly find that when we have an arm wanding a spin like this, it's delivered to the arm, and here it's delivered one rotation away. So
Because it just wants to use the Quicksilver input instead, yeah.
Yeah. So then the Quicksilver unbonds. Now we form the product. Does arm 22 do?
It's just to stop arm 21 from colliding before the validation screen.
It does an essential function. Now,
Arm 22 just stops it from crashing.
yeah, which is required.
Biggie points out in chat that this is burrito tech. So you're folding it in.
Oh. Yes, a bit. This shape is not too amenable to burrito tech because there's only one backbone. So one half comes in as a big chunk, but the other half has to come in as 6 separate chunks, which is a little bit annoying. But X-Electrical Lake makes it work. This is not the last time we will be seeing Quicksilver, I believe. I was very impressed at people who used it at P2 because
A useful wanding atom if you need one.
yeah, and because like there's nothing to hurt. It's so hard to get your 18 plus arms fitted around the big input that if you need some atoms for wanding, just use the Quicksilver, and then you can put the Quicksilver somewhere far away. Your arms are not blocking other stuff, and it makes it so there's less demand on pulling things out of the main input.
I like how that was also an intended use case for the Quicksilver because, yeah, it's like at period 3, then projection, and that's cool. But then you get to period 2, no more projection, but you can still use it for ones. Swagmaster 9001.
It's
Do not
greater
refer
than
to me in the
9,000.
third person. Sorry, Swagmaster 9001. I will not refer to you in the third person.
Yes. All thanks to my new computer with RGB and gaming chair. As I recall, this submitter had to build their computer in time for the end of the week. What
You
was
got a
it?
new that was third person. Hot top.
This submitter had to be. Yeah, well, whatever. What's done is done. So yes, this is Madmaster. Um, and sorry, Swagmaster, of course. Coming to defend the crown from destroying everyone else in HPC. Let's
It's
see what they
missed
have.
top 5 though.
Yeah, this was rough competition. Okay, so we've got the usual brick coming out. And then we have a few separate monomers coming out of the bottom. So that will be a tool that will come in handy later. We get rid of all the extraneous coppers and just whatever. This thing where there's just random unbonders lying around, this feels very familiar to me and how I built my thing. Where I'm like, okay, where can I fit an unbonder that makes it work? But here, it comes out, I think, pretty cleanly. So we did miss a little bit how this peculiar construction comes about. So I'm going to rewatch the bottom.
Also, that cycle count just quietly plummeted.
Oh yeah, I apologize. I totally forgot to
Almost 100
point out.
cycles.
Yeah, we are now into the. You had to try real hard to start getting low cycle counts, and I think we're coming up on a turn. And there we go. Once you catch up with
There's the
stream delay.
rotate.
And it's so clean how they just come up and fill in the bottom. And then something collides
That's
somewhere.
nice, yeah. It's also cool because when they're making that bottom, when Swagmaster, when you are making that bottom stick, you remembered to you've counted out the amount of extra atoms you need to chuck onto it, and because it's like you have one here for the rotate, because you need debonders to be able to palm them off, because there's no time in period 2 to do handoffs.
So this,
you've remembered there's 3. Yeah, you can count specifically the amount of extras.
Yeah, this silver goes to 20, this copper goes to 21, and this one copper goes to 22. And now, is it coincidence that the two pipelines take the same amount of time? Or are there delays? It looks to me like there might be delays on the top. The bottom is probably going as fast as...
Yeah, it might be that track it's like that track might be, at the top might be able to be shortened, except it's just trying to... Oh, maybe not.
I bet it'd be... Well...
Because it does have to get around that copper one. No,
I think you just put the unbonders lower. Yeah, I feel like the top line was delayed.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. Because it synchronizes quite nicely.
I feel like I had something else to say. I'm probably just complaining about the silver being wasted again. Swagmaster 9001, 163 cycles, writes, "This was the impetus for me to finally get my computer assembled and install an OS, so I can finally build a solution and stop thinking about it all the time. The triplex bonds were a very fun way to force rotation at period 2, which is something I had never considered when I made my period 2 showcase for thermal fuse and tried to figure out what criteria makes period 2 possible. I don't think I'll be in the running for the quickest cycles, but I'm happy to be in the period 2 with the cool kids." Followed by a square box, which I can only assume is some emoji that my text interface that I wrote does not display. Let me take a moment. Where? Admin page. I gotta get every detail correct. Oh, right, I forgot. I don't have emojis installed on my laptop. So none of us will ever know what that emoji was.
We'll never know.
It's a mystery. Where was I? Yes. I think it's time to head on up to top 5.
Top 5, let's have a look.
all of the top
Cycle count probably
five.
get.
Yeah. Maybe this
Sorry,
is
no,
a
you
good
go.
time to ask. What kind of cycle count do you think we're going to be looking at going forwards?
What do I think will be the winning cycle count? I reckon it goes under 100. Um,
Okay,
oh
that's a
gee, it
big
could.
drop from 163.
It is a big drop. I have faith. I. It's so often that like you think in your brain, what's realistic, and it's just way under that number.
Yeah. So you're saying
Like
like you're thinking winner below 100 or like multiple places
winner.
below?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
thinking winner below 100.
And second place above 100.
You know what? Yeah, yeah. I'll just
All right.
let's. All right, that's my prediction. I reckon top one gets under 100.
Well, we got a bit of ways to go before we get there. Next up, we have Fiesta 0618 with a pretty big cycles drop of 123. Never let me go.
Oh gee, oh gee.
Yeah, we're getting
That's looking.
small.
I mean, that's tracking good. Well, for two-digit cycle count.
Yeah, yeah.
That's that's compared to the last five solves. That's really compact.
This is super small. I don't recall if we stay this small. I don't think we do. Partially because I do like that Fiesta compactified the waist tracks. We are not doing bricking anymore. Okay. I
No.
don't like there's no margin
Wait.
before
Okay. So
signals. Let's look at that.
wow. That happens. Hang on. Yeah. No, sorry. Play it back.
Yep. So here we have this arm whose number is obscured is the wand that rotates them. And the fact that there's no
Ah,
bricking
that's what the right. Okay.
means that it has to rotate every single, all six rotated ones one at a time.
But it will do that, no problemo.
Yeah.
And a bonus rotate just to output.
Yeah. Obviously, this doesn't matter. You could have just had the polymer rotated the entire structure by 60 degrees and not had arm 24, just be a little bit slower. I think we saw one previous solve. I forget whom or who did that, where they did a rotation to get out of the way faster. Someone. I
I can tell you.
apologize for getting.
Someone.
So
Okay,
this
so
is.
Fiesta very comfortable here with the rotating premise of
Yeah.
period two.
Yeah, and using a two atom bond as the wand is interesting, but maybe that actually is easier. Having two atoms just means there's more
Two
space.
atom one's pretty good. Yeah. No, I like the idea. It's pretty good for like just having that arm one stays in place, grab pivot, grab pivot, grab pivot, and you can like wand whatever you want, which is why it's able to wand the individual chunks.
What was I going to say? Oh yeah, so what we see is the top. The way Fiesta builds this is that the top three come together, and then the bottom two come separately, which is a bit of a different structure than we saw typically used.
I like how like everything happens so efficiently here. We can actually like focus on the surgery itself here.
Yeah, yeah. Small enough we can actually see. I was going to make a comment about, right, an earlier iteration of this puzzle, which I probably should have said when we were introducing period two, was the input used to be different. I had originally spec'd out period two with a caltrop input. So four atoms shaped like a caltrop. And I had planned out how to do period 2 with that input, and it turns out that is way easier. Because,
What the caltrop makes it way easier.
yeah, because each additional atom in the input means you can do one more handoff while
Right, that's
retaining
another
a
like
surviving
debond
bond.
handoff.
So with a caltrop
Yeah,
input, it means you
yeah,
can grab the input in one place, carry it somewhere else, let go, have another arm grab it, that arm rotates, and it can debond, and you still have two atoms left over at the end. So you can do two handoffs and still have the bond, still have the critical triplex bond survive the process. So
yeah.
having a caltrop input meant you didn't have to do any wanding. So reducing down to three atoms meant the only way to rotate was either something like my design, where the rotating is done by an arm that holds the finished product, which is painful, or what everyone sensible did, which is that they had an arm that wands. So here, all the rotation has to be done wanding. And I guess the reason I bring it up here with Fiesta's solve is we see that the wanding happens 6 separate times instead of bricking and then wanding. And with the caltrop input, doing this sort of thing is a lot easier. So it makes it much easier to be like, I'll just have each monomer go off to its own little station where each one has its own rotator, and then you put the pieces back together at the end. And it just makes it a lot harder, or a lot easier to get to period 2, and thus less interesting of a challenge.
So I did figure the three atom input. That's because that's like the smallest molecule where you can like have it as an input and have period 2 be possible. Because I think like with a two atom input, it's impossible because there's only one bond, and in order to maintain it, you can't debond at all, or you clump them together. And how the hell do you palm off without debonding? So I don't think you can do it with a two atom output. That's a general puzzle design thing. Like, what's like the smallest possible input that allows me to like hit my design goal?
Just notice Cagliarisis
It's generally less painful to work with.
predicting the linear expectation for a number of cycles. If period 4 was 31, period 3 was 39, then period 2 is 47 cycles. That's significantly lower than your prediction.
That's a bold prediction.
Now, I was wondering, Zorflax, if I could lean on you for a moment. I have, my voice is a little bit tired, and I have, thanks to Fiesta's verbosity, 389 words.
All right. If you
Can I dump it in the
you
Discord? And then I'll step away from the computer.
if you throw it in my Discord.
I've gone through 3 glasses of water since we started streaming, so I have to go get a refill. I'm gonna dump. Oh, it goes past. It's longer than a Discord message can allow. I didn't know Discord messages capped you. So while
Is that the whole thing? Or is there more?
No, that's what could fit in the first half of the. Okay.
Whoa.
Right. I'm going to step away from the computer.
I got it.
I'll be back in a few minutes. You have fun.
All right. Fiesta writes in the notes. Deja vu. It is thermal fuse all over again. For me, at least. The puzzle is similar. A polymer with period as the main metric. My mindset was similar. Determination to hit min on a metric that has troubled me in the past. And in both cases, my initial assumption of min was wrong. For thermal fuse, I was focused on P4, only to realize later that P3 was probably doable. Here, I first set my sights on P3, only to realize that P2 was probably doable. Thankfully, the realization took less time in this case. Some thanks is due to Madmaster and Cagliarisis, who made P2 showcases for thermal fuse. The main challenge to P2, of course, is that atoms can never be dropped. That means we need one dedicated arm to grab each input with sharply restricted grab points. In addition, we need to craft a strategy where all input arms are either exquisitely coordinated and move together, or else are able to drop off components via debonding. To complicate matters in this specific puzzle, P2 also means no metal promotion is possible. That actually has massive implications. It means we need to grab 18 inputs instead of 12, for one thing, to get enough silver. And because we need to use the silver copper triplex bond at 2 different angles, we need to find some means of rotating 6 of the inputs. Because of the rotation issue, I figured that wanding would already be necessary, so I never bothered to consider a coordinated arms strategy, especially since 18 inputs supplies a big surplus of metal, so drop-offs are not much of a problem, at least conceptually. What did pose a challenge was monomer assembly. All of my ideas required the carrier arms to have identical orientations, and with the grab location limits of P2, that seemed unfeasible. Fortunately, I was able to find one extra grab point on the input, and so could extract one more set of ones for an assembly track loop, and here we are. In the end, I feel like this solve is a tad haphazard and disorderly. It does accomplish the hard thing, period 2, and so I am by no means disappointed. But I would not be surprised to see cleaner ideas running a good bit faster. Thankfully, area is not a scoring metric, ...
Thank you. I
No
think
problem. I can read the other notes as well if need be.
I think Fiesta should have wished for area as a metric because this is, I think. Well, maybe we should keep track. Okay, 638. I'm actually going to write this down. 638.
That's probably the smallest, but yeah.
We'll see if any of the ones going forwards are lower than that.
Because I imagine with a lower cycle count, like they're not going to be that big, right? Right.
I will also mention when I wrote this software, I have a thing where if I press in, it shows the notes on the screen. I did not want to code up scroll bars or anything like that. Fiesta is the one person who went off the edge of the screen. I was like, no one's going to write more than a screen full of notes. No.
Fiesta's notes were actually really solid and drew my attention to the fact that because at period 2 you need 18 inputs instead of 12 because of the silver count, and that does actually quite nicely allow for a lot of drop-offs. So that's actually a really nice kind of
the extra coppers.
You need a lot of drop-off. Yeah, the extra coppers give you a lot of like potential to drop off more shit. So I actually like that a lot about this puzzle.
Yeah, I think 18 was the right target size. I was a little bit constrained because I had to make a polymer, which means that my output had to be multiple 6, which meant I was choosing between 12.
And also 18's like 24, and suddenly like how the hell are you going to get enough arms around?
24 might be possible. I thought it just wouldn't be fun, right?
It might still, but yeah, at that point it feels a little too like more constraining than it is fun.
And I mentioned before that I had originally intended this being just 12 silvers, and I added the silvers to the backbone as a last minute, or not a last minute, but as a change I made. And I think the 18 silvers adds enough additional challenge over 12 that there's just a lot more going on than would have been going on without the silvers in the backbone. And what I've noticed here is there's just a lot of different ideas lurking in low period solves. And since we don't really do them in contests, probably for a good reason, we haven't really explored the solution space of all the different ways to approach period 2.
Yeah, that was the thing when we got to that P3 stuff at Thermal Fuse. There was like suddenly the solution space exploded, even though it was harder.
Yeah.
So it's like there was a lot of like untapped potential there in that solution space.
The 5 P3s are just totally different from each other. And that's what we see here with the 10 P2s, very different. Let's move on to the solve titled P2 by Caloresis at 120 cycles.
120.
Where are we?
Didn't okay. So we have a few above Calyresis.
Pretty sure this will be a larger area. Yes. So I was, I will say, a little worried. When I wanted to do period, but there's also a part of me thinking, Calyresis is really good at Opus Magnum and a self-described period main. Should I just like make a trophy that says Calyresis on it and just, not like by making a period puzzle, am I just deciding the winner? So
I mean, if we thought about that, then stuff like cost area secondary would be the Pentapig award or some shit like that. Oh, maybe not cost area anymore, but production instructions would be the Pentapig award.
mm-hmm. Yeah. And so what is, as a contest organizer, can you do instructions production? Or are you like, okay, well, I guess Pentapig
But you absolutely can, yeah.
it's someone, yeah, people will make them fight for it. Just because you're good at the metric doesn't mean you automatically win the metric. You still have to work for it. Yeah, so Calyresis was not the first Period 2 submission, but was among the first Period 2 submissions and submitted this 120 quite early. I think Calyresis made 2 submissions, and the second submission was just a tiny cycle drops from the first. So for a long time, this was the leading submission. And I say a long time, like a week was years ago, but it feels like years ago. So Calyresis had a really strong lead for a long time. And then some of these people who like to submit over and over again slowly whittled away at that lead. And there was a period of time where first was 120 cycles, second was 122 cycles, and third and fourth were both 123 cycles. So top 4
Wow,
from 120 to 123. I thought, okay, I mean, it sounds like this is a 120 cycle optimal thing, and everyone is getting smushed up against optimal boundary.
And that's until first place swept in with a double-digit solve. I'm still on track.
Yeah, you're holding out for your double digit first place. You keep raising the bets on that one. See how far that gets you.
I'm a believer. I'm a believer.
And that would have made for a dramatic outcome with a secondary tie for third place.
That would have been a wicked top 3.
But people
Top 4.
did inch ahead, and eventually Calyresis was beaten by not just one, but 3 other people who had submitted worse solves than Calyresis's, and all later improved their solves until they were ahead. So let's take a look at what this actually does. We again had big brick technology coming up from the left. So I believe, yes, okay. Hang on, where's the...
interesting.
Yeah.
So the drive one's not capped.
It's just the whole top. It's just done.
Yeah, that's a very easy way to do the top.
And then we have this thing where, like Fiesta, was spinning them one at a time.
Yeah.
And again, I do think the spinning with a 2-atom wand is easier. Just because it means you got more space.
What I'm noticing is that spinning wand arm also dictates how fast the thing can be put together.
Yeah, it has to do a complete spin.
Potentially worth noting.
So
you have to wait for it to spin 360 degrees.
And that has
get
to
the next one on.
Yeah, that has to take 12 cycles to do a spin. There's no shortcut.
And you can see the track at the top. There's a lot of zigzags in it to delay for that wand arm. So
yeah,
that's like the that's actually what is neat. That's actually what's keeping this at around the 120 mark. And that might have been why there was originally a logjam at around the 120 cycles mark.
Yeah, since Fiesta also used this spinning technology. Let me take a moment to look at Fiesta's solve again. So we should see again it's operating at a 12 cycle cadence once it starts spinning, right? 1 monomer per 12 cycles. Looks like that to me. So this 3 cycle difference is just a bit of latency. You're driven by the same limiting factor.
It's just a bit of latency at the end, yeah.
I will point out Calories has higher area count than Fiesta. And I have to ask, is Fiesta 0618 a reference to the golden ratio? It sounds cool. It's because the golden ratio is
It does sound good.
1.618, and 1 over the golden ratio is 0.618. So, sorry, I have the worst possible view. Let me zoom out a little bit. There we go.
That actually, yeah, that's there's a small chance that's a coincidence, but not a good chance. That sounds intentional.
I had a very...
Biggie writes Fractal 161 of Tetris fame is golden ratio. I actually didn't know there were numbers. I thought it was just fractal. There you go.
Mr. Royal Spade is starting to believe in Zorflex's prediction. Well, I can look at the next 3 solves, so I know. Calories has no notes, so let's move on to Kazian at 115 cycles, inching closer to your prediction. Now, I think Kazian might be most improved over the course of all their submissions. Because like Mr. Royal Spade did, Kazian also was initially submitting at period 3. And Kazian had a lot of period 3 solves. Let me check before I say something foolish. And if you look at the period 3, top period 3 solves, it's just constantly trading off between Kazian and JPIV. So the 3 best period 3 solves are all JPIV. Then the next 3 are Kazian. The next 2 are JPIV. Then the next 3 are Kazian. Then we have Kevlar and Specs, John, Kevlar and Kevin Clever, then we get back to JPIV and I think no more Kazian after that. So JPIV and
Kazian writes in chat. Kazian writes in chat that period 2 was the thing that they figured out instead of having to figure out min rate for period 3.
Yeah. So Kazian and JPIV were trading the lead back and forth quite a while. And these submissions were, going in parallel to each other. So I'd see one be ahead and the other would be ahead. And JPIV eventually did submit the best period 3. But then Kazian came in with the period 2, the solve called Deuce is Wild, and then steadily improved it. I think, so let me look here. Kazian's first period 2 solve was 170 cycles. So this is a lot lower. This has worked all the way down from 170 cycles to 115, which is 3 places.
Have a look at the solve. I see a hexon.
Yeah.
All right, we're bricking. I think we're bricking everything.
We'll come back down to the bottom.
No, it's not one big brick. There's a couple.
Yeah.
This is the top one. All right, this is the top part.
So
there's the key swing.
So we've seen this several times. I think Calories has had the same thing where the top thing was built as one giant chunk, including the backbone. One giant brick. And then the bottom is done in a bunch of pieces. What does the hexarm do? Oh, it's just there to save instructions.
Yeah, it's just to grab, literally just to save instructions. So I noticed Calories has got that top half built quicker, but here Kazian is doing it slightly more in parallel with the bottom bits that don't get rotated.
Yeah. And actually, top construction is very strange now that I spend a bit more time looking at it. It seems to be doing from both ends simultaneously. So you got the big brick, and now we got to reshape this thing. We have the Quicksilver. I appreciate the Quicksilver wand. And you see the top is being restructured, and the bottom is helping the restructuring at the same time. So, I don't know if that's like some sort of special technique or something, but it feels like a very well optimized surgery. Like this isn't just
without context,
yeah.
Without context, it just looks like a sea of bonders and debonders. But as is often the case with surgery, they're very carefully placed. But here in particular, there's the zigzagging movement's important because you turn the individual sticks into diamonds, and diamonds is nice because you take off the bottom part of said diamond and you get the tringle shape that you're looking for. And this is a matter of rotating and clipping off the extra copper atoms that survived.
And more abstractly, this soul makes me think slightly of like someone on a sled. Like a person in the middle, the sled tracks at the bottom, the sled on the way.
Charles Young writes in chat, the special technique is quote unquote, gotta break it apart to reshape it so both ends have to keep moving.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't stop either end. They gotta work in sync.
Yeah.
And Kazin writes in the solution notes, in case anyone asks, I did not tell you it was okay to do alchemy like this. Yeah. Period 2 is our chance to do things that we were told was not okay to do.
One thing about period 2 is how hard it is to make sure everything is synchronized properly. That's a big challenge. Like we saw in the Choo Choo Train Solve. Just how like things need to fit together at the right time and on the right period.
It's interesting.
Because the period itself is so short. Sorry.
Yeah. With other metrics, we don't really get an opportunity to flex that type of thinking.
No.
Usually you can just 6p your solve and you're like, okay, if it's asynchronous, I'll just make it weights or something, I just take a no-ups. Here, no, because of the short period, the synchronization has to be done geometrically on the playing board with all these funny looking tracks.
It's funny because I think there is a bit of it in TI, but the thing about TI is that the arms don't move. Here, arms moving is the only thing they can do. So the synchronization feels completely different.
Yeah. I think working with track is just a lot of fun in Opus Magnum, and this is a metric that really forces you to work with track. And think about where your track goes and how the track interacts, and can you reuse bonders and anti-bonders by clever movement of track and stuff like that.
And you get more than one arm to work with.
Are you ready for the top 2? Are you as excited as I am
I'm ready.
to
Let's
see
go.
what wizardry people have pulled out? Okay, you've predicted number 2 will be
I'm keen. Let's go.
above 100 cycles. We have in second place, Psy Looks Away at 102 cycles.
102! Oh my god. I'm so close to getting this prediction.
And yeah.
Oh.
That's a pretty... We're at the point where dropping 13 cycles is hard.
Wow, 13 cycle drop's impressive.
Yeah.
That tells me there is no wand arm pivoting around.
Let's find out.
But...
where are we going? There we go.
I think we're going down.
So I think this is... Do we want to call this half burrito tech? Because one half is delivered as a chunk and the other half is delivered in pieces?
Half burrito works. Also, it's a piston rotating it.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. Flaunting the irrelevant cost. Is this the only piston we've seen?
That's a Steven piston. That's Steven pistons
Oh,
rotate. Sorry, they pivot. They don't rotate, but that's kind of a Steven piston.
yeah, it is a bit. I was tempted to jump back to some of the earlier songs, but I think people are eager to see the top. Um,
Yeah,
so I will not do that. Silex away, right?
There were a lot of pistons in period three. I remember there were a few
Okay.
of them. But anyway,
Silex
but
looks away,
that's
right.
a flaunt piston.
We're hitting synchrony problems over here. Found I could reduce the length of the stick pipeline shortly before the deadline, leaving me with insufficient time to contemplate the implications of the new geometry. This design could surely be modified to be sub 100, which I'm prepared to believe. Last minute changes I know something about, having worked on my week 2 puzzle. Uh, so here we have, once again, the big stick coming in. And, oh, I stopped it just too slow. I want to stop it. Cycle. Here we go. Let's tab through this. So this is a little bit like what I did, where you have 6 arms each delivering a piece. So I think, in fact, this exact layout of alternating, what are these called? Dimers. Wow, I am hitting real bad streamer brain after 2 hours in.
Well, gee, we're closer to the 3 hour mark than we are to the 2 hour mark at this point.
We said there was no way we're hitting 3 hours, but I think we just both talked too much.
No way, but
And then slipping in just in time before the big stick comes, big stick diplomacy, comes sweeping in, and there's your product, and swings into the conclusion. So
what I like is this solve accounts for that extra swing to output to get all the arms and copper atoms out of the way. I don't know. That's just a really nice output way, because there was a lot of thought into I want to output right now kind of thing, and the piston ends up just rotating forever, never actually collides. But yeah,
I guess this is different from what I did, because what Silex Way did is these dimers that hang off the bottom were added here. Whereas what I did was I had the backbone assembled in the swing. So these dimers sticking up the top, including one atom of the backbone, was in the debris field. And the reason this is possible is because the output structure does not have the triplex bonds in both directions in the backbone. Because remember the design I had where there was no silver atoms in the backbone, so it's a 4-atom monomer with alternating triplex bonds sticking up and triplex bonds sticking down. You can't do these designs where you build the backbone and then you swing it, because there you have to build the backbone after you've swung. So I didn't think about that. That has a significant implication on how a lot of these designs would have worked. You could not have done this type of design with that layout, which is yeah. Let's take another look at how this backbone was built, because I think the left side is pretty straightforward.
The left side is all the 6 arms go on their individual journeys, essentially. But
and honestly, the right side is pretty straightforward
quickly.
too. Yeah, we are getting to.
It happens quickly. There's a lot of individual arms handling the individual copper atoms, but those arms are what makes the initial assembly quick, because there's a lot of them to help, like with wanding and stuff on carefully placed tracks and everything.
Now, the other thing I noticed, despite the fact we've been at period 2 for about 10 solves now, it's not consistent whether people's cycle counts are even or odd. We have a pretty even mix. I think it's mostly even, but I see. Actually, no, it's about half-half, even and odd cycle counts. So I think once you settle on a design motif like this, you're pretty much committed to one parity or the other. Like you could add or remove a track that changes your cycle count by 2. But different designs could sit on a different parity. So you could easily have, like, hypothetically, a 1 cycle difference between 2 consecutive solves. And then a little thing about 1 track. That's not a 1 cycle difference. That's a 2-cycle difference. Yeah. So with that foreshadowing, we have our top
With that,
solve.
did it? Come on.
We have in
If you say
first place,
101 or 100,
congratulations, Rebix. First place at 83 cycles.
83. Holy shit.
Yeah,
That was not close.
It was not close. Foreshadowing is a complete lie.
Hey, and see, when the prediction, I did get it under 100, but I was hesitant to say in the 90s just in case of this exact scenario happened if someone shot out.
Now this is
We're gonna watch this quite a few times.
Oh, definitely.
Right.
This is one of those solves where you look at it and you sort of think, like, I mean, this is what you do, right? this is the solution. But I don't know if I should say that with such confidence, because so Rebix was the very first person to submit period 2, and did so at 216 cycles, and steadily that cycle count just went down, and I kept seeing more and more Rebix solutions first creeping up onto Caloresis' lead of 120. I think Rebix was in that 120 to 123 mess that I was talking about before, and then went below and just kept steadily finding 5-10 cycle saves. Well, probably not 5 cycles.
Okay, so almost all of the other period 2 solves had the Tringle core and then like the 2 atoms at the bottom. This does not do that. This is not Tringle. This is have the 3 atom
this is the weave
120-degree angle. This is the weave. This is the zipper. This is a big point of difference. I'm not sure if any of the other period 2 solves divided it into halves like that. So this is completely different in that sense.
Well, mine did, but it was bad.
Okay, yours did as well.
It just had what's that? 5 times the cycle count, roughly.
Okay, so this is really nice because that bottom half is it's longer than normal because you need 18 total because it's the silver count that's blocking. So this bottom half has like most of the silver. So, and the fact that like some of the copper atoms get chopped off, but like the fact all the copper atoms get chopped off, so you're left with a shitload of silver instead. And so you just bond them individually. Because with this zipper technique, what it allows you to do is put a shitload of arms on the same track. So you're handling individual atoms without much difficulty that are and those arms don't have to start near the input, which is what has been constraining a lot of these solves. But here we're seeing like a shitload of arms placed nowhere near the input because of this zipper method, and so everything gets bonded concurrently. There's not that much like there's no big swing movement whatsoever except for the top, and the big swing is a lot easier because it's just 2 atoms that you're worrying about. So let's have a look at the top. Actually, we've looked at the bottom a lot.
Yep. So I find very interesting.
Oh, look at that! That's so easy. That's so quick.
And notice the Quicksilver being key. Because if you don't use the Quicksilver wand, that means 1 more atom in the middle. And there are, it's more than 18, it's 20 atoms in the middle? Arms. You're trying to cram all these arms, and they all have to be on their own track, and they're all different orientations, everything. It's a huge mess. And just having 1 more arm carrying the Quicksilver to do the wanding. That's just, where are you fitting another arm to do that here? I don't know. It might be possible without the Quicksilver.
Yeah, because the thing is, when you're doing it with that Tringle method that most of the solves do, most people end up you have to rotate the Tringle because that's what's like batched together. But here, you don't, because you just like have the top bit. Like, you rotate that, and then you can just separate them and zipper them in together. That's such a wicked motif.
Yeah. And the Rebix's use of bricking is interesting. So I think the key, and this is something I totally missed when I was doing my playtest helps, is to bricking when pulling off the input. That's just super strong. I think if you want to do big period 2, you just got to do that. If you're drawing a lot of input, you want to brick off the input. But unlike some of the other solves we've seen so far, Rebix does not commit to bricking through the whole solve. Pretty soon, these get split up into, you see these silvers are not bricked together, and these will not be bricked together either. They start moving individually. And then the final assembly, yes, the big chunk is moved as a brick. I do think that is the right thing to do. Having to move each of these 6 wrong orientation bonds one at a time is just slower. And moving them all in one big chunk, that just feels the right thing to do. But after moving them as a chunk, Rebix doesn't keep them as a chunk. They go ahead and split them up into pieces and then weave together all of the little pieces.
So one thing that Rebix is pointing out that's cool is before they get individually split up, I don't know if you can say it, but they're wanded onto that debonder by the elbows themselves.
The lower elbows wanding the top brick forward.
So it's right before they get individually debonded, the top bit. Get individually debonded. They're moved onto that debonder by the elbows after the elbows are done.
Okay, let's see. I definitely missed that. So here's the wand, I think that Rebix is talking about.
No. So this isn't it. No. So keep going.
There might be stream delay also. So our
so here. So it's right here. Notice how they get moved onto that debonder on the right.
Can you tell me which arm number you are talking about?
It's like 1D. Oh, it's like 6. It's like the elbows. It's not 1. It's like go down a bit. So you can see like arms 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35.
Oh, that. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was... So here we go. Okay, so here they bond. Okay, here, so arm 32 is holding this trimer, which is bonded to the brick. And then arm 32 moves to the right, advancing the brick, breaking off the next step.
Debonding off the brick, off its wand, and bonding onto the main output at the same time.
Yeah, that is good. That's the sort of thing where you see it or you don't. You just think like, I just need to move the atom that way. And it's like, wait, if I put these atoms, bonders and unbonders in this configuration, it just magically works. And it's hard to say how to find things like that.
Coming up with that would have been a really cool light bulb moment.
Yeah.
That's the zipper itself. That's why the zipper. It's partly why the zipper actually works, and how you can get away with this like different constructions.
And key to lowering latency is the fact that everything is small. So having it super compact means that things just move less distance. We've seen other zippers that did things more spaced out, and it just has a higher latency when you do that. I'm going to call your attention to ARM 22. If I recall correctly, in an earlier version of Rebix's design, ARM 22 or its analog does not go to the left at all. So it was very similar idea to this, but this big brick weaves in with the trimers coming in from below, with everything moving to the right. But instead, ARM22 carries it to the left, and that just makes the whole thing a little bit more compact. By moving the weave spot further to the left, it's harder to build because now your weaving technology is interfering with your other arms. Everything's just getting crammed together in fewer hexes. But by cramming together in fewer hexes means there's just less travel distance, and less travel distance means faster cycles.
Yeah, Rebix writes, the elbows are the bottleneck, so if you can bring the construction closer to it, then it'll be faster. So yeah, that's how it's
Right.
like, it's moving to the left a bit, because everything's nice and
Yeah.
compact, so that means less movement when you're actually when you're actually zipping it up together.
I do find it interesting the elbows are the bottleneck because we saw on a lot of previous solves the brick that rotates is the bottleneck. So a lot of previous solvers would first produce the brick that rotates, and then do all the wanding stuff, and then the other stuff are like, yeah, I just carry it straight from the input to the output. There's no processing to do. Here, because Rebix is not doing bricks for the bottom part, each of these has to be carried by its own arm, and that just slows it down a bit. And that means that these elbows at the bottom, the trimers, take longer to produce, and that's why they're
Right.
the bottleneck.
But if you think of it, it's a better bottleneck than the other route, because with this being the bottleneck, this is the part you don't have to worry about bricking together and rotating, because there is no rotation. So the part that's the bottleneck, not having to worry about rotation, means the whole machine as a total goes faster, which is at least partially why there's such a giant drop.
Yeah, it's very impressive. And 20, well, okay, not 20, 19 cycles faster than second place. That's very impressive. A whole
And second place was
digit
already
improvement.
13 cycles faster.
Yeah, when I saw the 120 cycles that Calorisa submitted early on, I'm like, okay, I mean, here's the winner, right? You know, and I didn't realize we had 40 cycles to go. Um, so, uh, I had fun looking at these solves. Do you have any comments you want to talk about this puzzle before we move forwards? Either,
Great puzzle, great metric, thick winning solves. God, this Rebix solve is just like every way you look is a really cool idea that we hadn't seen before. There's like a lot of novel shit here that none of the other P2 solves had. I always liked the idea of this like low period stuff because there's a really big, interesting watch. But yeah, no, this is really cool.
all right, I think it's time to move on to the thing I errantly showed earlier, which, oh my gosh, is this working?
Oh,
Oh,
black screen at the moment.
we should still have audio. So yeah,
Yeah, we have.
congratulations, Rebix,
Yes.
as well as everyone else who participated. Um, yeah, Calories is saying that
That's nice.
wish they had a looping P3 solve. I think we were very
Never
close.
got one, sadly.
We were very close to tinkering with. Was it Ebenov solve to turning it looping? Ebenov solve totally 100% could have been made looping. We just got done with.
Yeah, there's a way to do it.
tinkering.
There's fully a way to do it looping involving the Quicksilver track.
Okay, now I'm hunting around in all my tabs because, as everyone should know, this is in fact a 2-week event. I guess I never said why I did this. I'm maybe because I don't know why I did this. Uh, I think
Just
that
happened to be that way.
yeah, I think the immediate inspiration was I suspect it was Bist in the Discord made a comment to the effect of like, anyone can make an event on events.cartelli technology. And
Yeah,
I
like
looked,
literally, there's no
yeah,
there's no security anything. You can just do it. Like, yeah.
Biggie, I don't have any submissions from you.
Of course, if people abuse that right, then that might change. But we're
Yeah,
a
I mean,
community,
when
so
we're
we're
overrun
able to do
by
anything.
so many Opus Magnum tournaments, what are we going to do? Uh, yeah, so, and I saw people being all like, oh, when is the competition happening? When is the competition happening? And and I guess I just felt like I needed to provide to that demand. And I do think there was a bit of, latent energy in the community for competitive puzzle solving that was realized in the fact that 27 different people submitted. I was really astonished. I was thinking like, okay, so long as 10 people submit, I'll be happy. That'll be fine. And
Yeah, you were like, should I do this? I don't know if anyone's gonna give a shit.
I know
Kind
I
of a
was,
thing, and then you've got nearly 30 souls.
and then as the solves started coming in, I was worried I was gonna have my voice die before the end of the stream, but I think we'll get there.
Also, did Biggie's solve count as scoring?
Uh, I do not have any solve scoring or otherwise from Biggie.
Oh, wasn't submitted, Biggie, apparently.
Yeah, it could be user error. Let's not rule that out. I might have messed it up. Okay, so while we are looking at Rebix's awards screen, I have a little bit of lore for week 2. Okay, so week 2, I'll just read this. Yeah. The elves ushered all of us and me or you into a cramped office overflowing with stacks of paper and mounds of tinsel. Come in. Good job with the broken ornaments. I got your machine in the workshop churning out tinsel nonstop. Well, except it keeps jamming up every 30 seconds, but whatever. If it works, it works. Now, I was checking my list twice. From underneath some tinsel, Santa pulls out a piece of paper covered in red scribbles. And I discovered a massive number of nice kids on the naughty list. So it's hardly a week until C-Day, and I'm short a few toys. You know what this means. You want us to make toys for them? Miryu said. Oh, no. I want you to design one toy, and my elves will pump out a few million copies overnight. I'm thinking one of those alchemy cabinets, making fireworks or something. Kids love those. Now, I'm sitting on 20 tons of coal I don't want, so we'll have the kids pop in some lead and mercury, melt down the lead with the coal, and bam, you got a firework. Sounds easy. All of us asked if any other reagents were available. Well, there's a team of reindeer outside processing the tinsel into essence of silver. You can have as much as you need. Anything else? Just head down to the workshop. Oh, one last thing. We got way too many triplex bonders, so try to cram as many as you can into each box. Go nuts. You need them to make fireworks, right? All right. Now, that's your lore. We will be looking at it in a minute. I require a little bit of patience.
There's I think people might have picked up on the potential hint of what the metric will be.
I am super curious what people think the metric is.
Currently the leading theory is production cabinet throughput. Or rate, I should say.
Cabinet rate is the leading theory. Oh, I see. Mr. Puzzle, primary is 1 over number of triplexes. Sorry, I'm fiddling around with this. My intention is to release the puzzle right now, but I want to make sure I have everything filled out correctly.
The auto mod just like flagged the word triplex as sexual, except now that I'm manual mod, I'm just like, yes, it's an okay word. So you can now type triplex in chat.
I believe the puzzle's up. So speed solvers, good luck.
We're still on the website.
On the website. Non-speed solvers, hang tight, we're going to talk about the puzzle. Now, I will say the puzzle says the deadline is 6 days and 1 hour. Don't take that literally. I'm going to fix the deadline. It's entirely possible there are other bugs because I changed things last minute. So let's get back to just Opus. Does this work? Yeah.
So I'll do you want me to wait for you to like show the puzzle like on stream and stuff, or like because a bunch of people have opened up events.criteria and they know like the puzzle and metric and everything, but
yes, puzzle is on stream.
On stream reveal.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Oh, there it is.
So we'll talk it through. I mean, if people want to look at the website, that's fine, whatever. Um, yeah, so I was, when I woke up this morning, I was thinking about all the solves we've been getting for week one and, how good everyone was and how many period two submissions there were when I was not expecting to submit it. And you know what I did? Very first thing I did today when I got out of bed was I made the left cabinet smaller.
Smaller.
Smaller. The two cabinets used to be the same size. And this morning I made the left cabinet one size smaller. So anyone who wishes to have more space, you can thank all the people who submitted period two this week. Yes. So you are making fireworks. On the two products are snap sticks, which is this five fire atom line, and you see there's four different triplex single bonds in there. And snap sticks are considered they're safe for kids ages 12 and up. And poppers, which is a gold atom with three fire atoms, including double triplex bonds, which I don't know if we've seen in puzzles before. I am sure there's some puzzles somewhere,
Not
but
double.
I don't recall.
I've seen triple and single, but not double. No.
Um,
I nearly made. I had the idea ignition cord, but Rolani shot it down in favor of single. But no, never been done.
So when I said a few weeks ago that we were going to see jank, I did not have in mind the period two. I was 100% having in mind. I figured there'd be some jank with the period two nonsense. I had 100% in mind. This is just max jank week. Our inputs, we have four reagents. You have molten lead, essence of silver, and stabilized quicksilver for kids. And one bonus input is I did give you Thor's hammer. So all those speed solvers who have difficulty with this puzzle, just make a Thor's hammer and split it in two. It's easy. That definitely works.
Totally can.
Good luck. So yes, the metric. The metric is cycles divided by number of triplex bonders. And that means this is an area puzzle disguised as a cycles puzzle. I want to see everyone cram in those triplex bonders everywhere. The secondary is cost, but triplex bonders are free. And the tertiary is cycles because I thought we might have some ties. So yeah,
Question: what if you use zero triplex bonders?
I'm interested in knowing how you'll make these outputs with zero triplex bonders.
Okay, all right. If you've calibrated that, then
I think
you might have, because
it might be
I
possible.
think you have actually.
Yeah. I think I could have made both cabinets smaller, but at that point I'm entering into the range of cruelty rather than interesting. Yes, I also, since Mr. Puzzle points this out, I would like to see exactly one overlap cycle submission next week. I do not want to see more and not fewer, and I want to know how you all are going to coordinate that.
Has to be someone.
This puzzle...
Not me, I suck at overlap.
I might be venturing into next week's talk, but this puzzle went through a ton of iterations, including it originally had 3 different outputs, and I condensed 2 of them into a single output that was a little more complicated than either of them separately, but more interesting. And actually, before it had those 3 outputs, it had one big output, and it was a free space puzzle with different metric. So the original design was this was going to be weighted sum where triplex is free.
Weighted sum triplex is free.
Yeah, so every triplex bonder takes off... Yeah.
What would the weighting have been,
I
if
think
you remember?
the usual weighting. I think the usual is gold is divided by 5, and that's what I did. Or gilder is divided by 5. So then it would be weighted sum where gilder is divided by 5, and each triplex takes 7 off your total. 4 because the triplex is 20 cost, and 3 because the triplex takes 3 area. So this would then have the flavor of a marms, except for rather than arms being free, it's triplex being free. So you'd have to pave your plane surface with triplex bonders. And then it's a challenge of, being low weighted sum while surviving having triplex bonders everywhere interfering with your puzzle solving. And I couldn't get it to work though. It just ended up being you just always did really small and you didn't really use the extra triplex bonders at all. Here, I'm actively rewarding triplex bonders. Triplex bonders aren't just free, but they reduce your cycle score. So, but I had to move to production cabinet to do it, so you're limited in how many. Welcome, Morikanda. We are just a few minutes into the stream.
Oh yeah, nah, all right. We're just starting actually.
And that's all I got. I don't know how you end these streams. Zorflex, what thoughts do you have going forwards? You have promised you were going to solve this, and I don't know if you're regretting that promise at this point.
No, I've already opened the puzzle. Dude, I'm keen. You will see my name in the submission next
excellent.
week. I know I said that last week, but I'm no longer burnt out and don't have to work, and so
Excellent.
I'm actually good to go. And I like production puzzles, so
Oh, good.
yes, I'm really excited to get cracking.
Okay, well, there are just a few. I might have some technical problems with the site or with the puzzle because I threw everything together last minute, as I'm sure is normal. And the deadline as a placeholder, I will announce a proper deadline later on. It will be approximately 7 days from now. And
Would it be the same cadence or like approximately like the same time of week as this week? Or
yeah, the deadline is going to be next Saturday. I just don't know what time it is. I haven't finalized any of these details. So I just put in a random time. Don't take it literally yet. And good luck everyone solving. And thank you so much for joining me, Zorflex.
My pleasure. I'm more than happy to come back next week, help you commentate week 2. This is fun. This is great. This is yeah, it's nice. I just kind of come in zero pressure because you've gone through a great effort to organize all of this.
Thanks. All right, I will see you all in the Discord. Good luck. We are live again. I apologize to everyone who submitted showcases that I knew there was something missing. Like, how do you end a stream? Something has to happen, right? Okay. I apologize if anyone left thinking I was into the stream and they missed the showcases.
I'm gonna let the Discord know.
Yeah, I'd be happy if you would do that.
All good, all good. I'm still there.
Okay. Now we have our essentially untested showcases code. Not literally untested, but near enough.
Do you know how many showcases?
8.
8. Okay.
Okay. Welcome back to the stream. Oh, sorry, I have to actually switch it over to Opus with leaderboards. Here we go. How does this look? Are we looking at? I think we were looking at it. Okay, Eggsucker Triple Eight. Comedy comes in threes. This is marked P3 solution for if I didn't solve P2 in time.
Hang on, I just got the joke with the region in week 2.
Zarflex, come back. We're streaming.
All right. No. I was saying that on stream on purpose. I'm letting that one slip.
Yeah.
Looping period 3 solve. We actually got one.
Yeah, not just Ebenaz almost looping one. Here we also see. Excuse me. Once again, projecting the middle silver after building. That is something I think only one other solver did.
It's a clever solve.
And
it just
also
wasn't optimized for cycles.
Well, also Eggsucker AAA did period 2. So.
Oh, and that.
Didn't need to do it.
Right. No, that slipped my mind.
And this does something that we saw very little of in period 3, which is arm 5 rotating. Usually, because you don't need
period 3 pivot arm.
You don't need a pivot arm in period 3. There were a few solves that had hex arm spinners, but because you could choose which atom to, what's it called, project. You could
also
have to do that.
Also, the pivot arm actually has a drop instruction because it's period 3, which allows it to actually be moved off that pivot arm, which is the one in Quicksilver that does that. So that's another point that you actually get. So the pivot arm can be reused for different inputs, which is why this actually loops.
Yep.
Because it's actually like one at a time, really.
Okay. Well, we have seen a fair few period 3, so let's move on to Fiesta 0618. This has sorry,
TI. Okay.
And this has no notes, so this is just a TI 11 solve, which by my count is impressive.
Yeah, TI polymer puzzles in TI can go pretty damn low.
Because you don't have to drop it, I guess. Oops. Inwards. Now this swing, the pair of swings.
Yeah, like I don't know how close this would be to what like min would be if you like set it as a tournament puzzle. Probably no more than a couple of instructions away from that. So this is pretty well optimized.
This is very well optimized. Very low cycle count too. This pair of swings, we saw this exact same structure with another solve. I forget who it was. But how one monomer.
Was it Spect? No.
It might have been Spect.
It was around about.
It was around about Spect. So
no,
where this copper pulls out. Here, this swing comes in a little later. So, you know,
I remember the solve. I don't remember who submitted it.
Yeah. It was another build from the right. Okay, that's pretty cool.
I remember the solve, though. I just can't remember who submitted it.
Next up, we have Mr. Earl Spade, who was very successful optimizing the period 3. And then, of course, all that work goes to waste once you realize a period 2 solve. So this is their best period 3 solve. Mr. Earl Spade writes, "This solve is so clean, I almost wish period 2 wasn't possible. I'd imagine some players fell into the period 3 pitfall. Indeed, I think more than half did. So I won't ramble too long. My favorite part of the solve is the speed and efficiency with which I make my wand. I love the reuse of the debonder. I'm very proud of this, and imagine that without period 2, it would have placed well." We can check on that once we... so this is a funky choice of monomer because almost everyone stuck with the monomer the same way I had placed it. But here, Mr. Royal Spade is using this monomer instead, which is equally valid, but it's sort of misaligned with the polymer, so you have to make one more. You have to make 7 of these to finish the structure rather than 6. Now, which unbonder gets reused? I think this was the one he's talking about he's proud of reusing. What is...
Which one? Sorry, I was a bit distracted there.
Where my cursor is on arm 3, we see at the beginning that arm 6 swings by, uses that unbonder to deliver an atom to arm 3, and then arm 3 uses that atom as a wand, and now uses the same debonder that delivered the wand atom to it to do the wanding. Just realized.
So it was there's like there was like an initialization phase there that did not make the machine crash nicely. So
yeah, I like that. Let's move on to Morikanda, and I think we might have already seen this one. I think that their speed solve got submitted once as a regular solve and once as a showcase. So
yeah, we've pretty much seen this one already.
Yeah, that's fine. Next up, we have Matrix. Now, recall Matrix had the fastest submission. It was period 4 at 31 cycles. Wait. Hang on. Before we look at Matrix, we're going back to Mr. Puzzle. Sorry, Mr. Royal Spade. I'm getting everyone mixed together. I just wanted to know what the cycle count of this one was. 58. 58 would be respectable period 3 submission. But there was
quite respectable.
There was faster. So Matrix writes, I don't understand period 3, and I'm going back to Factorio Space Age. Yeah. Okay. So there are a few things missing in this solve. The rest of the L.
Question mark.
Sorry, I'm stuck. I have played more Factorio than any other game by a large margin, and I purchased Factorio Space Age, but I haven't played it yet.
Oh, that was the new thing that
yeah, it came out a few months ago, and I just didn't have time. So someday I will be playing it, but
I know better than to download Factorio. I would dread how many hours I would lose in that game.
I've honestly probably spent 500 hours just writing mods for it. I've written so many mods.
Just writing mods for it.
I've written so many mods. Next up we have Mr. Rose.
If I wasn't an adult with adult responsibilities, I'd have downloaded Factorio and probably sunk God knows how many thousand of hours into it. Biggie, sorry. Biggie's just pointed out that for week 2 the submission is broken. I think you might have to rewrite the metric. I don't think the metric understands what metric is.
I was worried about that. Biggie, could you DM me the submission that doesn't work? Assuming that this is not some incredible secret you're keeping under wraps.
No, I don't think it's the. I don't think it's the solve. I think it's the way you've written the metric into the website.
Did I do it wrong? Okay.
Is not.
All right.
Because the error message was posted in Discord, and that error message I think is like a I don't know what the metric is. Error.
Oh, okay. I'll fix that after we do showcases. Sorry about the technical.
We'll do it after the stream.
We've got 2 more showcases after this. I will point out, if you're wondering what order the showcases are in, they are the order that comes out of calling Python's random.shuffle method. Mr. O'Spade writes, could probably add instructions to get OC, but that officially be too many showcases, haha. Yeah, I do not understand overlap at all. Like, I kind of know the pieces. I do not know how the pieces go together to make a solve. But yeah, this is OI. This is the fewest instructions we've seen all evening, or morning for some people. And it's pretty good. All right, but we've looked at it. So we are moving on to puzzle. We're moving. Did I not push it? There we go. Another overlap. We can count on.
That's a lot more overlapped.
Yeah.
I know that's not an objective statement at all, but that is more overlap.
So HIR, but H also stands for hacks. Okay, so we're limited to 5 height, 2 instructions, and hacks. Oh my goodness. What is this? I'm pretty sure the error message that is relevant is this one right here that says that this successfully created the desired product. There's this is not.
That's an error message.
And it loops. Okay, well, let's take a moment to. Yeah, okay. So there's some stuff over here. Let's zoom out. Yeah, okay. It starts over here.
Of course it loops. I got to get that right tertiary.
I appreciate people who make looping solves. Okay,
what happens to that arm after the solve validates? Hang on, play it again. Sorry.
It goes back to.
Oh, never mind.
No,
never mind.
We'll do it. We'll do it.
It's all right. We've...
Can you make?
That's a track loop.
That's just cheating at that point. I didn't know you could do that with quantum tracks.
That's. I actually no. Yeah, I actually didn't know that either. You could track loop a straight line.
Well, not just that. It doesn't go back to the start. It goes back to the second track hex in the loop. Slapdash 4i, no notes. We have seen a 4i before. Now, I do not know my free space I theory, despite the fact that I decisively won the free space I puzzle this summer. Can this be 3i? Is 3i free space possible? Oh wait, no, no, right?
I want to say yes.
Because
want to say yes.
Once you pick up a monomer, you can't put it down, right?
Yeah, but you can dispose it.
3i with disposal,
Or
Biggie says.
Yeah, you can dispose or project. So I want to say yes, you can do it in 3i. I don't see anything that's stopping this from being possible in 3i.
Yeah, okay. Well, we did see another 4i, and I think this one is very slightly faster. It's 906 instead of 990 cycles, so, you know, touch and
Yeah, the more I think about it, I'm quite sure you can do it in 3i.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining my ultra secret second stream. Only the cool kids know about it. And thank you once again, Zorflex.
That's all right. I've 2 streams in one day. Damn. Getting a lot done.
All right. See everyone in a week.